Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC on Fox 26, UFC Winnipeg, Robbie Lawler versus Rafael dos Anjos. And Shaq, this is a little bit of an earlier card. We're going to be sweating fights at 5 p.m. this time.
Yeah, I always like sweating fights on a Saturday evening, Saturday night, whether it be a Saturday morning at 5 a.m. I mean, it is what it is. But it's a good card, man. We got Josh Emmett. Opportunity of a lifetime going in there against Ricardo, Lamas, and Robbie and RDA, two former champions, one at 55, one at 70, both on the tail end, but they're both legends in the sport, and I can't wait to see it.
And Mike Perry versus Santiago Ponzinibbio.
You know what I'm saying? So those two are going to stand and trade until one man goes stiff. So,
And, I got some bad news for the fans, because we gave out back-to-back-to-back max bet winners on 3 consecutive weeks, and now everyone's expecting the 4th. And the bad news is you guys are going to have to wait an extra week or two for the 4th.
You just got to be patient, man. You don't force any issues. There's nothing, we'll get into it on when we get into every fight, but, next week there's a huge opportunity, and you just got to be patient.
And that's all we got to say about it. We're going to end the year with a bang, but before we do that, Let's do this whole card from start to finish, man. It's a good one. We got Jordan Meehan. He's minus 135, and the comeback on Erick the Tiger Silva is plus 115. Now, it's funny. One of our fans messaged me and was like, these two are going to compete for the quit belt. But who you got in this one?
Man, it's unfortunate, to see how both of these guys' careers have turned out, because when Erick came into the UFC, at one point, I thought he was going to be a champion. I thought, before the Fitch fight, I was telling everyone, man, he's going to smoke Fitch, like, it's going to be quick, just watch. And then, he went in there and pulled that quit job off, and then, he got knocked out by Dungan Kim, and he hasn't recovered since, man. The guy's always a habitual gasser and habitual, quitter if he can't get that first round finish. And, this fight with Luan Chagas, he actually prevailed through that one. And, Chagas was inexperienced. But this guy, Jordan Meehan, man, I think he's like, 26, 27? But he's really about 37, 47 in fight years. The guy's been fighting since he was 16. And, his dad, he's one of these cases where, he was kind of pushed in early because of his father, and his father had him taking severe ass whoopings at a very young age, and where he's seeing the repercussions of it now, man. The guy's a complete shell of himself. The Bilal Muhammad fight, you could tell that if there was the old Jordan Meehan, he might be able to win that fight, but the new Jordan Meehan is completely done. He's showing up with one corner man nowadays. He's he's just cutting costs. The guy really doesn't care. He's coming to get his $30K, and he's looking to get his check. The Amel Mech fight. The second Mech hit him with the overhand right. Jordan just shelled up, and the fight was over. So this is as far as betting wise, this is a definition of a pass fight. How can you trust either one of these guys? I remember I did one of the most stupid things in my life when I bet on Erick Silva to beat Nordine Taleb. Actually, listen to this. I actually parlayed Chas Skelly and to beat Darren Elkins and Erick Silva to beat Nordine Taleb back in my jobber days, and that was a complete disaster. So, after that, I was like, okay, Erick's completely done, man. But I'm going to take him in this fight just because I think that, I think Erick still has that first round somewhat of explosiveness. Like, I feel like he could beat Meehan to the punch. This fight is just a matter of who does what to the other guy first. Whoever gets off to that good start, I feel like, is going to win the fight. I don't see either guy being able to come back and win a fight. I don't see either guy being able to come back, from adversity. I feel like Erick slightly, has a little bit more left in the tank if he can stay conscious. But it's if he can stay conscious. But I think Meehan's a shell of himself. I don't think he's going to throw in those situations. So I'm going to take Erick.
It's an extremely tough fight to call. It's basically a case where one guy has more heart than the other, but he's got a way worse chin. Basically, Erick Silva is the tougher of the two, but he's got probably the worst chin in the welterweight division, man. And at this point, when he's been knocked out as many times as he has, and you're going in there with a guy like Jordan Meehan who does have the hand fighting down, even if he is a shell of himself, I think he's going to parry. I think he's going to throw a left hook. I think he's going to catch Erick Silva. It's just that you can't trust a guy like Jordan Meehan because he doesn't really want to be there anymore. He's kind of being forced to be in there. He's showing up for a paycheck. You know the deal already.
He's got a kid now. He needs the money,
He retired the sport for a reason. And he had enough a couple years back.
Santiago retired him.
And he's came back. He hasn't looked, anything like the old Jordan Meehan. But the thing is with Erick Silva, man, he just can't take a punch. You know, it was interesting how he survived the Luan Chagaz fight because Luan dropped him a million times. It's just that Luan was kind of green. Luan didn't know how to finish a fight. If there's one thing Jordan Meehan knows how to do when he hurts you, it's finish a fight. So I think Jordan Meehan's going to knock out Erick Silva, but please do yourself a favor. Do not bet this fight. Now, next up, also in the welterweight division, we got Nordine Taleb. He's minus 150. The comeback on Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts is plus 130.
It's a good fight, man. Nordine's arguably the toughest French guy in the game right now, besides GSP. And, no offense to anyone French out there, but, Danny Roberts, his last fight against Bobby Nash, beautiful knockout. His fight before that with Mike Perry, even though he got knocked out in that fight, I felt like he showed what he's capable of because in that fight, he was picking apart Perry with ease. It was just the fact that when Perry lands, we already know what happens when Perry lands clean. Everyone feels it. And, he was completely picking Perry apart as just his chin. And we saw his chin against Dominique Steele in that fight. He got wobbled a million times. In his last fight against Bobby Nash, he did get the KO, but the lead up to that fight, Bobby Nash was winning that entire fight, in my opinion. It was close, but I felt like Bobby Nash was getting the better of the exchanges on the feet as well in the wrestling exchanges. Nordine is one of these guys where it's like he's got that tri-star point fighting style where it's a question of is he going to do enough. Like on his best day, he can go in there with Santiago Ponzinibbio and give Ponzinibbio hell. He could give Ponzinibbio fits, but he didn't win. He almost won. He's one of those almost. He almost did it. But he's got some solid wins, man. He beat Li Jingliang, knocked out Erick Silva when he was like a plus 200 underdog. So, I wouldn't count the guy out. Danny Roberts is a solid guy as well. I'm passing on this fight just because I feel like both guys can win the fight. I don't see any clear advantage for either guy. I feel like Danny's a little younger. I feel like Nordine's, we're going to start seeing him, start to age overnight a little bit. We're going to see him, start getting a little more chinnier. But we already know how Danny Roberts' chin is. Granted, it was against Perry, but, that happened. So it's a matter if Nordine's going to do enough. But I'm going to go with Nordine. I think he's going to win a split decision here.
I'm going to go the opposite way. I got Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. Look, I respect Nordine a lot, but I think people often forget the dude's 36 years old. And when Dana talks about fighters getting old overnight, this is going to be a prime example when, Nordine looked amazing against Santiago Ponzinibbio earlier this year. And now he might not look as good, man. He's definitely getting up there in age. But the thing I like about Nordine is that, like you said, he's got that tri-star point fighting style down. And in his last fight against Encamp, man, I love how he handled that newcomer, man. It was basically like a UFC fighter in there with a local fighter, and the local fighter is exerting 1,000% effort, and the UFC fighter is just in there chilling. That's basically what it was. It was very fun to watch. He's, at least for me it was, man. He's in there making the kid bite on feints, and then he's hitting him with nice leg kicks. The issue here, man, is we know Nordine's best weapon is that right leg kick, and it's going to be kind of hard to get off on that when you're fighting a southpaw. He's going to have to go to the inside, which we know is easier to check, and we know Danny knows how to check. He trains with Henry Hooft. That shit's going to be on point, and I hear people talking about how Danny's got a shitty chin. Why? Because he got knocked out by the #1 knockout artist in that division? I completely disagree, man, and I know Dominique Steele knocked him down in the first 10 seconds of the fight, but look, man, Dominique Steele and Mike Perry have something in common. They're both short, stocky guys with knockout power. That's not what Nordine is. Nordine's a tall dude who's known for winning decisions. He's not known for knocking anyone out. He knocked out Erick Silva, who we already discussed that he doesn't have a chin whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, big deal that you knocked out Erick Silva. I don't think he's going to knock out Danny Hot Chocolate. If anything, man, I think when he tries to throw that leg kick, because it's going to have to be an inside, he's going to get countered with that right hook straight left. I think that Danny Hot Chocolate, I was kind of questioning if he was getting old or this or that because of the Perry fight. But, man, that's fucking Perry, man. And, he'd get rocked at the end of all the rounds. But, look, if Perry lands on anyone's chin, you're going to feel it. It is what it is. And since that fight, he came back looking way better. Now you can say, oh, it was Bobby Nash. But, look, man, Bobby Nash had a fight of the night with Li Jingliang prior to that. Bobby Nash had a good effort with Danny Hot Chocolate. It's just that Li Jingliang and Danny Hot Chocolate, they ended this dude's chin. That's why when he came back against, Keenan Song, he got knocked out in 15 seconds because Li Jingliang and Danny Hot Chocolate ruined him. But don't let that make you think that during the Hot Chocolate fight that he sucked or something, because leading up to that, there's a reason that fight was line close, man. That's because of the effort that Bobby Nash put against the very tough Li Jingliang. So, I don't see Nordine dropping Danny Roberts here. I see him trying to, weasel his way to a point-fighting decision, and I just think that Danny Hot Chocolate has the shape to go 3 rounds hard. I think he's going to land the bigger shots. I see Danny Roberts taking the decision here. Now it's finally time to give out our first play of the week because we got Alessio Di Chirico. He's minus 115, and Oluwale Bamgbose is minus 105. So what are you thinking, man?
I think it's a line incorrectly. I know Alessio went to split with Gareth McClellan, and on the outside looking in, for these people that claim they watch tape but they really don't, if you just look at it, yeah, he went to split with Gareth, which on paper is terrible, but if you actually watch the fight, you actually appreciate the fight that they put on because they both went to war. It was a life and death fight. Both men were bloodied. Both men were completely gassed, and they pushed through for 3 rounds.
Something Oluwale can't do.
Something Oluwale cannot do. Oluwale is what we like to consider a front runner, a quitter, a gasser, a guy that really doesn't want to be in there. You could buy into all this bullshit on Twitter about him, being a different man. He ain't no different man. The guy's a quitter. He's a front runner. He's got a 2 to 3 minute gas tank where he could possibly finish his fight. But the thing is, even in that first 2-3 minutes, he's moving around so much. He would have to catch Alessio flash style. It would have to be a flash KO. It wouldn't be. And the thing is, Alessio's patient, man. Alessio's not like Paulo Borrachino, just right in your face. So Paulo would give Oluwale those openings. Alessio doesn't rush in like that. And, his fight against Spicely, hey, so what's that? That's going to happen here? I mean, what's Oluwale going to hit him with a triangle from his back? That doesn't matter. So that's irrelevant in this fight. And
Spicely tapped out my head.
Exactly. And I feel like Spicely's one of these guys that's actually a lot better than people think. He's just that he has no confidence in himself.
And he's ugly.
Like, Spicely's actually good. He just doesn't believe in himself at all. And, Alessio, it is what it is. That doesn't matter, though. Like I said, Oluwale is what we like to refer to as a quitter. And I know I've said that in the past with, like, Jan Blachowicz, but the difference is Jan Blachowicz, yeah, he's a quitter, but the thing is, Jan actually has the skills. Like, I've seen Jan take down D1 wrestlers a couple times, so it's different. Oluwale, yeah, he took down Paulo, but it was a half a takedown. What happened though? The guy was moving around, gassed himself out within 2 minutes, and the fight was over. When he fought Cesar Mutanch, he dropped Cesar. Had Cesar coming off a 3 KO fight losing streak where he got knocked out 3 times in a row. And he ends up rocking Cesar and staring at him in his guard. He tries to land ground and pound shots, but he's so scared to get in his guard. And the second they got back up to their feet, the fight was over. Cesar knew he had him. Oluwale threw like the worst right hook I've ever seen in my life, and he got dumped. And Cesar dominated him from that point to the final bell. And like I said, I just think the guy's a quitter. I feel like Alessio, this fight is very simple. All he has to do is get through 2 minutes, and he'll win this fight. I like his takedowns. Go back and watch that Boyan whatever his last name is, Boyan fight in Croatia. And, I mean, yeah, he lost, but it is what it is. It was a close decision. He lost, yeah. But
Oluwale ain't a point fighter that can go 3 rounds.
But they went 3 rounds. You know what I'm saying? Him and Gareth, yeah, Gareth's a joke. Yeah, Gareth can't suffer a takedown. But what happened? They went 3 rounds, and they went life and death. And I honestly think Gareth's hands are better than Oluwale's. I think Oluwale's boxing is super overrated. I think it's a myth that he's got like good hands or anything like that. Yeah, he caught Serafian with a head kick, and Serafian was completely done at that point, in my opinion. But like, I feel like his good boxing is a myth, and I feel like the guy doesn't have what it takes mentally, man. I've been hearing, stories from other guys where this guy's a habitual quitter in the gym. He quits in the gym, he quits in fights, and I think he's going to do the same thing here. I put 2 units on Alessio. I'm honestly considering, putting more, because when I talk to myself about it, I'm like, all I have to do is get through 2-3 minutes, and I'm going to run away with this fight. And, it's going to be ugly. Alessio's not the best guy out here. Long term, will he hang around in the UFC? Probably not. But the mistake a lot of people make is when they watch tape, they look at things from a long-term picture instead of short-term. The only thing that matters is Oluwale. Oluwale, like I said, he's a quitter, and I think Alessio's going to get the job done.
I'm with you on this one, man. At first I was kind of sketched out because I did watch the McClellan fight, and it's like, Alessio did gas out in that fight, but there's a fundamental difference when Alessio gasses to when Oluwale gasses. When Oluwale gasses out, he quits, the fight's over right then and there, he won't push through. When Alessio gasses out, he's going to push through, and he's going to fight on all heart. So it comes down to, just survive those first 3 minutes, don't get knocked out, and we're going to run away with this. That's literally all it comes down to. Now, I know people like to talk about how oh, he lost that decision to Boyan. Well, Boyan's a point fighter. Boyan's a guy that trains in elevation that can go all 3 rounds hard. We know Oluwale can't even go 3 minutes hard. Well, he can go 3 minutes hard, but after that, he can't do shit. You know what I'm saying? Oluwale can't go to a decision and win. Like, come on, guys.
Anytime the fight goes past the first 2 losers.
And not to mention, we all thought Chirico won, but then when you look at the geography, you find out that Croatia is a lot closer to Serbia than it is to Italy. So now I understand why they gave Boyan that decision. It was a little European politics. It is what it is, but that's not going to matter here. All that matters here is Alessio weathering that storm for the first 3 minutes. And the good news is, unlike Borrachinha, Alessio's not going to come right at Oluwale. He's going to be patient, and he's going to be able to keep that same pace that he has in the first round all the way through the third round. And you can't say the same thing about Oluwale Bamgbose, man, because, like I said, right when the bell rings, he's going to come at Alessio. He's going to try to throw some big bombs. And after that, he's going to gas out, because it's not a matter of his gas tank sucking. It's a matter of his gas tank management sucking.
His movement.
Because the dude has literally, zero pacing whatsoever. He throws everything he has in those first 3 minutes, and then he has nothing left. He doesn't know how to pace himself whatsoever. So, it's not that the dude ain't running or things like that. I'm sure he is running. I'm sure he is working on his cardio. It's just his style. He's just very dumb about how he uses his cardio management.
For example, the Paulo fight, you would think, how is he going to beat Paulo Borrachinha? Even though, realistically, he probably doesn't have any chance to win that fight, but you would think he has to knock Paulo out. So he lands a straight left in the first exchange, and then he's shooting takedowns. He's trying to take Paulo's back, and Paulo's just laughing it off like, "Go ahead, bro, gas yourself out." And the second Paulo weathers that storm, the fight's over. And I feel like the same. He might even crack. He's probably gonna crack Alessio with a left hand at some point, and Alessio's nose might start getting bloody. But Alessio likes that type of shit. Alessio will eat that shit up for lunch. I'm telling you. And he'll shoot a takedown, and he'll try to sub Alessio with his BJJ black belt. Yeah, let that sink in. He's a BJJ black belt.
Who is?
Oluwale.
Are you fucking serious? Under who?
Look it up on.
Hold on a second.
He's a BJJ.
If we said Cub Swanson got his black belt on the internet or in a cereal box, where the fucking Oluwale got his in a Happy Meal? You know what I'm saying?
He's gonna try to use his BJJ black belt and tap Alessio because the guy has no purpose in there.
A dude put 25 cents in a little fucking machine and got his black belt. You know what I'm saying?
You check up on Wikipedia. It says he's a BJJ black belt under some guy.
He ain't no BJJ black belt. Dude ain't even a blue belt.
And you know what I'm saying? So, and it's just going to come down to Alessio fighting smart. I'm sure Alessio's aware of this. And honestly, man, I might put more on this now that I'm talking about it like this, because I just know this guy doesn't have what it takes to compete in here.
Yeah, look, you're 100% correct. I see a lot of people putting stock into the fact that, Oluwale took down Borrachinha. Okay, well, let's talk about that for a second. So what happened when he took down Borrachinha? 2 things happened. 1, Borrachinha got right back up, and 2, Oluwale had nothing left because he exerted everything he had into those takedown attempts. So, when people talk about him getting takedown attempts,
I want him going for takedowns.
Why don't you talk about how, what did he do with those takedown attempts? He didn't do a fucking thing with those takedown attempts except gas himself out. And then when the fight gets back up to the feet again, that's when Oluwale starts backing up into the fence, and you tee off on him. You know what I mean? Look, I realize in the first 3 minutes that we're not the more athletic guy, we're not the more explosive guy, we're not the faster guy, but as long as we weather that storm, we're good to go. Now, you guys heard how Oluwale, he did some work at a couple different gyms, a couple big-name gyms, after the Borrachinha fight. Well, turns out Shaq and I got friends at those big-name gyms, and we wanted to find out firsthand what the deal was. And what the deal was that the dude was quitting in practice, too. Now, it's funny, because my buddy that told me about this, I don't even think he's watched Oluwale fight before. And the way he described Oluwale in the practice room was exactly the way we're describing Oluwale in his fight, which was, this is exactly his words. He's like, well, he came out hard in the first 3 minutes, and then he quit. I was like, oh, so he does it in the practice room too? And then, I heard he didn't even show up to every session. You know what I'm saying? I heard one of the dudes, you know which guy, gave him a severe ass whooping. And then, he decided to take his quote-unquote talents elsewhere to another gym, another famous gym. And I hear over there he was faking an injury. You know what I'm saying? So the guy is a mental head case. And listen, if he fluke knocks us out in the first 3 minutes, then whatever, man. I'm a long-term winner. It's not a big deal because I will long-term fade you, Bamgbose. If you win this fight, I will fade you your next fight, my friend. But I think Alessio is resilient enough. I think he's got a good enough chin to survive those first 3 minutes. And after he does, he's going to start to take over. He's going to get that one takedown and, in the middle of the first round, break him. And it's going to be all sure. Then you're going to see Bamgbose running in with these uppercuts that aren't even set up from a mile away. You know what I'm saying, man?
This guy's a habitual, ground and pound loser because, Uriah Hall hit him with one ground and pound shot. He quit. And then, the Paolo fight, after Paolo caught that kick and put him on his back.
I didn't even catch the kick. Oluwale threw a kick and fell.
Exactly. So, you know what I'm saying? This guy's going to end up beating himself. Alessio's going to win this fight. And then, Alessio will get his second UFC win.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I put 2.5 units on Alessio Di Chirico at -105.
And I'm actually putting more on this as we speak. So,
how much you got?
I feel like I got 2 units on it just to win like 181 right now. And, I think I'm going to put another 2 units on it.
Oh, shit. So Shaq's up in the ante, huh?
Yeah.
I thought I was the original one.
I mean, when I think about it, I'm just like, all I have to do is get through 3 minutes and I win the fight.
Yeah, look, I mean, if Oluwale takes us down and passes
for 3
and
rounds,
submits us.
congratulations.
You came a long way, my friend. You know what I'm saying?
Congratulations. And I know, and everyone listening to this knows that ain't fucking happening. And if you think that's going to happen, I don't even know what to say. So.
Yeah, so that's it. 2.5 units on Alessio. Let's see what happens. I think he's going to break the young man. Now, I believe this is the light heavyweight division. Julian Marquez, he's -255. Darren Stewart's +215. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, my man. Look, Darren Stewart's one of these guys. He comes into the UFC. He fights Francimar Barroso in Brazil, knocks him out, and then there was, either eye poke, headbutt, whatever you want to say. So then he gets the chance to rematch Barroso in his home country. And it's like, bro, we're about to set you up with 2 highlight reel finishes. You're about to kick your UFC career off to a great start. And then he drops the ball against Francimar Barroso. And then they give him to my boy Carl Roberson. Roberson handled him exactly how you're supposed to, which is by knocking him, or actually tapped him out, which is basically by getting him out of there in the first round. And with Julian Marquez, man, I heard he was brought in to lose to that Philip Haas jobber, and then he knocked that dude the fuck out. And he's been knocking everyone else out that he's been fighting. Look, no money on the line. I think Julian Marquez is the rightful favorite. I'm going to pick him here inside the distance.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, that KO of Phil Hawes was absolutely disgusting. I mean, talk about face plant. And this guy Stewart, he came out real.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, bro. Remember before that fight when Cub Swanson was like, "If I've ever seen a future world champion, it's Phil Hawes."
I've heard John Jones say that. I've heard a bunch of guys out of Jackson say that before. And it's so funny. Back in the day, I think Black Zillions and Jacksons had some type of beef about Phil Hawes. Apparently he was training at, but that doesn't matter. He was training at Black Zillions and Jackson stole him. But it's unfortunate to see where that guy's going now. But he lost to Lewis Taylor as well, right? I got Marquez in this fight. Stewart, he came out against Roberson guns blazing, gassing himself out, and that was a life-changing L, man. So I'm gonna go with Marquez in here, man. I think he gets it done inside the distance as well.
All right, well, Jared Cannonier, he's -185. Jan Blachowicz is +160. Now, Shaq, we usually always fade Jan Blachowicz, but
let's get into
we
this.
usually always fade him against wrestlers. We know earlier this year, Jared Cannonier was grinded out very badly, albeit against a top 5 guy. Now we're taking on Jan Blachowicz, and if you've seen the pictures, Jan's dripping. That's all I got to say.
Let's get into this one. Look. Generally, you guys heard me shit on Jan Blachowicz his last fight before Devin Clark. Going into that, Devin's a JUCO national champion. I'm thinking, just shoot, keep shooting, make him work. Gas, he'll quit. And, going into that fight a couple days before, I checked on Instagram and saw the body Jan Blachowicz was possessing, and I knew I was in big fucking trouble then. I was like, God, he's back. He's got his meldonium levels fixed now. And, he took care of Devin Clark. He treated him like a fucking child.
He took down Devin
Clark. took him down. He fucking subbed him.
With a standing.
You know what I'm saying? And, I knew that, that fight being in Poland, that Jan was going to be able to, take his vitamins. And he took care of Devin Clark. I lost 2.85 units on it, I think. And when I got this fight with Cannonier, I could be an emotional guy. I could be like, fuck Jan, I'm gonna fade him again, and maybe that is the right move. But the thing is, when I want to fade Blachowicz, I need a specific type of guy. I need a guy that's gonna shoot takedowns, and I know Cannonier's not going to do that. Now, I'm not saying Cannonier can't beat him on the feet because Cannonier, he is very athletic. He does hit hard. I mean, I think him and Jan got the same amount of knockouts. And, you know, Jan's one of these guys where he's actually very skilled. I'll tell you right now, he's better overall than Cannonier because Jan, when he's not completely gassed, I mean, I've seen him, like I said earlier, I've seen him take down Corey Anderson. I've seen him take down Pat Cummins. I've seen him
body kick Latifi.
Yeah, like I've seen him do things. It's just that in those fights, he ends up, you know, putting his hands on his knees and completely gassing out. But, you know, I'm under the speculation that as of right now, I feel like he's about to go on one of these little 2 to 3 fight stretches where he starts looking good, and then he'll go back after, you know, they start figuring out what he's on. But I think with Cannonier is, you know, the Jan Cutelaba fight was you know, real good. He lost that first round, came back and broke him in 2. And that could happen here because Jan's a similar guy to Cutelaba. Hard-ass first round. And next 2, you know, they gas out. But, I mean, he looked fine against Devin Clark in that second round. Got the finish. This is a fight I want to stay away from because everyone just fade Jan. But then you got to understand that he's actually a better fighter than Cannonier overall. I mean, he's got better wrestling. He's got better jiu-jitsu. I mean, I feel like when he's fresh, he's got better stand-up as well. It's just a matter, can Cannonier put him in situations to empty out the gas tank? And I'm not convinced that he does because he doesn't have that style to make Jan work. He's not grimy in the clinch like Corey Anderson or Pat Cummins or Gustafsson, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to, you know, reshoot. He's not going to make Jan sprawl, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to put Jan in a position to, you know, to make Jan panic and make Jan shoot. And I've seen Cannonier get taken out with some basic single legs by Glover, and I've seen Jan actually hit those takedowns before on Corey Anderson and on Pat Cummins with that same single leg. So, you know, this is a fight I want to stay away from. Look, I'm not saying Cannonier can't outstrike him. I'm not saying Cannonier can't knock him out. I don't think he is. I think this fight's going to be very close. I think this fight's going to go all 3 rounds, actually. And like I said, I feel like Jan's actually the better overall fighter. So this is a fight I want to stay away from. Generally, I can't bet on Jan because look at his history. If things don't go his way, what happens when he, you know, puts his hands on his knees and he quits? So I'm not betting on Jan by any means, but Cannonier, I feel like people are putting too much stock into his last one. I mean, who the fuck is that guy anyways, you know?
Nick Rorick?
Yeah, and like I said with Cutelaba, the Cutelaba fight is the guys that are, you know, all the people I see max betting Cannonier, that's what you want. You want the Cutelaba fight. You're thinking, you know, Jan's going to come out here hard in the first round and completely gas. And that's what I thought his last fight. And that's not the case. And I've been seeing pictures of the guy, and the guy's meldoniumed out. So be very fucking careful. I mean, the guy is fucking dripping magma right now.
So what's your pick?
You know, I'll take Cannonier just because, you know, I'll never pick Jan Blachowicz in a fight. But don't be shocked when Jan Blachowicz gets the win here because he's in a form right now where he's looking very scary. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm going to pass. I feel like it's the definition of a pass. This is what I call a trap fight because generally I'd be with you guys all betting Cannonier. I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's max bet Cannonier. Jan's going to quit. You know what I'm saying? But after I learned my lesson with the Devin Clark fight, I thought Devin was going to completely make him quit going into that fight until I saw pictures of Jan before. So it is what it is, man. I'm going to take Cannonier. I hope all the guys max betting Cannonier win their bet. I feel like I understand where you're coming from. And but be very fucking careful.
This is a very tough fight to call, in my opinion. I see people very confident in Cannonier, and I understand why. Because you're fading Jan Blachowicz. Like,
I get it.
Long term,
it works out.
Long term, that works. But Jan Blachowicz' best moments far trump Cannonier's best moments. And let's talk about his best moments for a second. Body kicking Latifi, a top 10 guy, in your UFC debut. When you kick a guy like that and he goes down, I mean, that's a big statement. You don't just finish Latifi in the first round. That's a dude that went 3 rounds with Mousasi. And also, I would say his other best moment, not even the Devin Clark fight. We don't even got to talk about that. Let's talk about the Gustafsson fight, man. He fucking outstruck Gustafsson on the feet. And, dude, closing the distance on a guy like Gustafsson who's 6'5", who runs away, it literally runs away. You saw that fucking Glover fight, you know what I'm saying? Closing the distance on a guy like that and landing the hands compared to, 5'11", Jared Cannonier. Not saying that, the shorter guy can't win, because the shorter guy is probably going to be the faster guy here. But what I'm trying to say is that Jan Blachowicz isn't going to have to look for Jared Cannonier, kind of how he had to look for Alexander Gustafsson, and he found Alexander Gustafsson. It's just he got taken down by a much larger man. A larger man that also took down John Jones, okay, you know? So...
And Cormier.
And Cormier, right? So, you know, man, it's one of those things where it's like, if I had a wrestler here, I'd be all over the Jan fade, because when you get a wrestler, long term, it's a 4-1? Right now, that's the record of him versus wrestlers, 4-1.
1-4.
I'm saying, like, if you bet against him with a wrestler, you'd be 4-1.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So betting against him with wrestlers, it's got a 4-1 record. So, you know, I totally understand. But the thing is, Jared Cannonier is not a wrestler at all. Like, at all, man. I mean, he got grinded out earlier this year, just as bad as the times when Jan gets grinded out. Like, I know Glover's a great fighter. I know Glover would beat Jan as well. But the bottom line here is that it's not like Jared has this big advantage in the grappling. Basically, what Jared's going to have to do is use his hands, man. He's going to have to go out there and outbox Jan Blachowicz. Now, on one hand, I like the fact that Jared is kind of elusive in there with his hands, man. You know, I like the fact that when he was at heavyweight, man, he was the smaller guy, so he had this great footwork. He was so much faster than everyone. You remember when he knocked out Cyril Asker. And here at light heavyweight, man, I mean, his hands have been translating. You saw the Yanku Taleb fight, and even the last fight against, you know, that fucking jobber Nick Roerick when he outstruck him. And even though the ref made that a TKO, it could have totally gone a decision, but the ref helped him get a TKO, even though it was a complete domination, start to finish. But look, man, now we're taking on Jan Blachowicz, Jan who has... Yeah, he got a new doctor on his staff. Let's just put it like that, man, because the dude's dripping, and don't be surprised if all of a sudden he looks like the best version of himself in this fight. So it's going to be a really tough one to call. As far as I'm concerned, you guys might be right. It might be easy money on Jared Cannonier. I just personally don't think it is, because I know these two are going to stand and bang. The way I see Jared winning this fight is, yeah, I saw that shit too, bro.
I mean, I'm looking at a picture of Jan right now, and I mean, Jesus Christ, he's shredded.
His new doctor is going to win a fucking Nobel Peace Prize is all I got to say. But look, the way I see Jared winning this fight is first round's close, and then after that first round, when Jan starts to put his hands on his side and he starts to huff and puff, that's when Jared can go out there, start really outstriking him, start boxing him up, and go out there, win that decision, potentially put him out late. But the first round is going to be super sketch, man, because Jan's going to come out there blasting that body kick, and he's got a serious body kick, not just against Latifi. You saw the faces Devin Clark made when he got hit with that, and Devin Clark, you can say all these things about him, but the dude's built. You know what I'm saying? And when he ate that shot, he made the grimace.
Yeah, Corey Anderson made the grimace. I mean, he starched Pat Cummins, but then, you know, he quit. And, you know, I see a lot of people bringing up that Igor Prokhrayevich fight. Look, I completely get it. Igor the Duke made Jan fucking look like complete shit. Like, he had Jan panicking on the feet, and Jan was the panic wrestler. So I completely get it, but like I said, maybe I'm putting too much stock into it. Maybe I'm not. But I feel like Jan's doctor is putting in some amazing vitamins in him right now.
Yeah, 100%. So, you know, I was going to pick Jan just to be kind of funny, but I'm going to pick Jared, but no bet for a reason, man. It's sketchy as fuck. I wish everyone luck on that one. Flyweight division. Tim Elliott is minus 260. The comeback on Pietro Menga is plus 220. Now, man, I thought we had a great opportunity, and we still might. But the thing is, Pietro Menga, he took this fight on a week short notice, and he hasn't fought in over a year. So, I mean, dude, those are two things not going in his favor. Because I know with a full camp, we'd get Tim out of there in the first round.
Yeah, man, you know, this is one of those fights like Gabriel Benitez where I'm going to be kicking myself in the foot because I truly believe that Tim Elliott is on the decline. And, you know,
he wasn't even that good.
He wasn't on the guy has a losing record in the UFC. What's his losing record in the UFC?
3-6 in the UFC.
So habitually he's a loser in the UFC in the big show. You know, on Titan, of course, he can take advantage of those old Brazilians. And
you know, real quick, sorry to cut you off, bro. People are talking about how Tim Elliott's the number 2 flyweight on planet Earth. Let me mention his UFC wins real quick. Jared Papazian, the green-haired guy, and Louis Smolka. I'm done.
And, you know, man, those factors that you just mentioned, you know, with Menga taking his fight on a week notice and he hasn't fought in a year, and before that,
and the jet lag,
and before that, I'm not worried about that at all. But you know, before that last fight in Bellator, he was coming off a 2-year layoff. because of an ACL injury. But man, I honestly believe that he's a better fighter than Elliott because I know Elliott's tenacious. I know Elliott won't quit. But when we talk about top 10 guys in any division, especially at flyweight, we don't see too many guys go in there and just get treated like amateurs. And when I say amateurs, the guy's game hasn't evolved. He's still the same guy that was in the UFC. I mean, you remember that Zach Makovsky fight where...
Right. Talk about who treated him like an amateur.
Ben 10, and you know what I'm saying? But would Ben 10 do that to Sergio? Would he do that to Henry Cejudo?
He couldn't even do that to Smolka.
Exactly. When you get treated like that, and it was like from the opening exchange, back take, choke out, over it with. You know what I'm saying? And Menga's got some serious jiu-jitsu credentials. I feel like he's better on the feet. It's just that on short notice to prepare for a guy like Elliott who's so awkward, like, I mean, his stand-up is laughable in my opinion. That Smolka fight, his stand-up looked atrocious in my opinion. And, you know, maybe it's due to because they're both so weird and awkward that maybe it just looks like that, but I honestly think the guy's on the decline because even in the lead up to the Ben 10 fight in weigh-ins, man, I felt like Elliott looks super drained by the weight cut. Now, I'm not saying that he's having trouble making the weight. I'm sure he'll make weight. The guy's as tough as they come. I know he won't quit. I mean, the guy took down DJ 2 or 3 times, but I feel like that might have been his final hoorah, man. I mean, he got cut from the UFC. He had to go to Titan. He, won all those fights. Had to go through the tough show against all these new guys looking to take him out, like Shelton and Schnell. But we know the deal with Elliott. It's the same shit it's always been. It's about him. He's always finding himself in bad positions. He's like a smoker, you know what I'm saying? He's always getting his back took and he's always getting reversed. But generally, against those type of guys, those young guys that are inexperienced, he gets away with it because these guys aren't, they don't operate at that frequency. And I just got a feeling that Pietro Menga for this specific fight is. And I feel like, on the feet, it's not that hard to beat Elliott, man. I feel like you just need to land the more effective shots because this guy is going to get his head popped back because he has no defense at all. I mean, the guy's chin is wide up in the air. I mean, his combos, like I said, are laughable. It's just a matter, is Pietro going to be, because I know Elliott can push a pace. I'll give him that. The guy will not quit. He will push a pace for 3 rounds, and it's super awkward, especially on a week notice to prepare for. Man, I'm definitely taking Pietro on this fight. It's just a matter, I'm considering betting it because, like I said, I feel like the guy's on the decline. When you get treated like that by Ben 10, I mean, I know it's Ben 10. I know Ben 10's a top 5 flyweight in my opinion at least. But the fact is, I know Ben 10 wouldn't do that to anyone else. I promise you right now, he's not going to do that to Formiga in Perth. You know what I'm saying? Him and Formiga are going to go the fucking full 3 rounds most likely. And, man, so I'm going to go with Pietro. Stay tuned if I bet it. I feel like the guy is very composed. I feel like he's got the right amount of experience. I know he's had the right surroundings. He's been brought out to train with Frankie Edgar. He's been brought out to train with TJ Dillashaw back when TJ was at Alpha Male.
Marlon Moraes. He's been in these environments. These camps have bought him out specifically to train with other guys, man. So I feel like he is on that level. I feel like he is on the level at least to be Elliott. So we'll see. Man, it's so tough because of the factors that you mentioned. And it's interesting because those factors could just be something on paper. They might not even matter, or they might matter a lot. So it's really about, this is the end of the year. I'm playing it safe. I'm passing, but I think Pietro Menga is the better fighter here, man. It's just that when you take a fight on a week short notice, you haven't fought in over a year, and the last time you did fight, you were coming off a 2-year layoff prior to that. So he's fought 1 time in 4 years. You know what I'm saying? Granted, he knocked the dude the fuck out in the first round, so that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Listen, this kid is skilled. His biggest downfall is his takedown defense, but off his back, I mean, the dude's attacking with triangles. He can sweep. He's nasty, and he's a lot more technical on the feet and efficient than Tim Elliott.
And, the takedown D, I feel like a lot of guys on the local scene, like a lot of guys that come into the UFC, they like to play off their back. For example, Adam Chirico that fought Anthony Hamilton on the local scene, the guy flops to his back every other day, but then when it mattered, when he had to stay up on his feet against Anthony Hamilton, he didn't. I'm not saying Adam whatever his last name is, they're completely different people. But I've been seeing a trend in that. Guys that like to play off their back on the local scene, they come to the UFC and they cut all that shit up. But the thing is, in this specific spot, I don't think it matters because Elliott has a very hard time holding position. I mean, the guy's getting reversed by Shelton, you know what I'm saying? They're just having scrambling fest. And granted, he's winning this, but Menga, I feel like he's better than these guys.
So Elliott did this entire camp at the UFC Performance Institute, so maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it doesn't even matter, but at least you know that he's not slacking on his meals. He's not, he's putting in the work, and who knows? Maybe he's sleeping in and not putting in the work. But the dude's in there.
He trained at the PIs for his last fight, so it don't matter.
Just gotta let the fans know all the factors here. So look, he's at the UFC PI doing his thing, but here's the caveat. It could be the classic letdown spot because for a fact the dude was super excited to fight Scoggins.
I'm sure he would have beat Scoggins. He would have got his ass whooped and then he would have got a guillotine. I'm sure he would have.
So, he even tweeted that how let down he was, that, he was so excited about getting a fight of the night with Scoggins, even though you and I both know it would have been a performance of the night. But he was really excited about that, and now he's fighting this dude, and it's like, who the fuck is this guy? And the dude you never heard of, he's actually a really tough guy. He's undefeated for a reason. Now, everyone has to take that first L. This could be that first L. It's just that he's a lot better than Tim, but the question is he showing up at 100%? Is he showing up at the best version of himself? Because the best version of himself finishes Tim Elliott. It's just, I don't know what we're getting, so it's a gamble here. I'm passing from a bet for those reasons, but my pick is the newcomer, Pietro Menga. And real quick, we talked about how Tim Elliott's 3-6 in the UFC, and look, I enjoyed his 3 wins. I loved it when he whooped Jared Papazian's ass. I loved it when he beat the green-haired dude's ass. The fight with Smolka was fight of the night. Great stuff. But who the fuck are those guys? You know what I'm saying, man? Those guys don't win in the UFC no more. And Jared Papazian, green-haired guy, ain't even on the roster. And, and it was a good fight with Smolka. Now, I'm going to go with Pietro Menga here. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got Chad Laprise. He's minus 160. The comeback on Galore Bofando is plus 140. Now, man, a striker's delight. This is going to be fun. What do you think?
I feel like this fight is another simple fight that I have to pass on because I know Bofando's explosive. I know his striking is serious. I know, but the guy is 34 years old, if I'm not mistaken?
I heard 37. I could be wrong.
Mid to upper 30s, you know what I'm saying? So this is, the tail end of his athletic career, and he's never seen anything remotely close to a Laprise. And now I'm not saying Laprise is some fucking world beater, but Laprise is a good fighter, man. I know he had a little rough stretch where he quit against Ronaldo and the Ross Pearson fight, which I bet on Ross, but let's be honest here, he won that fight. But hey, he lost. And the thing is, if Laprise plays this smart and uses his Canadian wrestling, if you're betting on Bofando from this perspective, how do you know, can Bofando stuff for 3 rounds? Is he going to get up from bottom? Because I've seen him on the local scene at times not get up from the bottom, you know what I'm saying? And, Laprise is a striker. Is he actually going to go for it? Or is he going to try to prove a point and strike with him? Because if he does, he's probably going to get knocked out. The thing is, if Laprise plays it smart, I feel like he's going to win this fight. And there's too many unknown questions about Bofando. I know that he's super explosive. I know that he throws some of the craziest kicks I've ever seen, in his highlight videos and training. The thing is, I'm sure he has been putting in that work, wrestling. I know he trains with MVP, but the thing is, it's just unknowns, man. So I have to pass. I'm going to take Laprise just because I've seen more of Laprise. I know what to expect from Laprise. I know that Laprise has tools in every aspect of the game to get a win. I've seen him take down OAM. I've seen him, go to the wrestling at times. I've seen him take care of jobbers like Kamosi and T-Ball the way he should have. So I'm going to go with Laprise. I wouldn't be shocked if Bofando won, but I can't trust the guy's takedown defense. He's never beating Charlie Ward means nothing, in my opinion, he did what he's supposed to do. He slammed him on his head. It was beautiful, but Charlie Ward's a fucking joke, and he's getting dropped by 7 and 13 guys in Bellator. So, you know what I'm saying? Razak Al Hassan, KO'd that guy stiff in the first exchange. Like I said, it's just too many unknowns. But, look, if you're betting on Bofando, I don't blame you. You're just hoping that, the hype train, rides you through this fight, and you're hoping Laprise goes down. I've seen Laprise take knees before by eating shots to Ronaldo, so I'm going to go with Laprise in this one.
Let me ask you something. When's the last time Laprise took someone down?
It's tough finale fight.
Okay,
against OAM.
So he hasn't taken anyone down since OAM.
Then, yeah.
Well, I just gotta remind everyone that's not the OAM we see today. Just so you guys know, so just go back and watch that. Yeah, because OAM, we were thinking, man, this dude looks like shit.
I'm saying that from the perspective that I know he can do it. Did he take down Barberena? No, I don't think so. He might have though.
I know he quit against Barberena.
Yeah,
he
quit the third round. He straight quit. Barberena straight broke him in the third round. And the thing is, those guys have a aggressive MMA game, as where Bofando is a sit back type of guy looking to land something flashy and KO you stiff. Now, I'm not saying he can't do it. It's just that I honestly don't know if he can do it. He's never faced anyone on Laprise's level. Now, people are saying, oh, Laprise ain't shit. And he ain't shit. The thing is, the guy wins the majority of his fights. He's only lost 2 fights. So I know that he can do it. He hasn't done it since. But I'm saying from the fact that is the game plan. I feel like if the game plan is to tie Bofando up and, just get quick little takedowns, stay on him, tie him up, which he hasn't done, I feel like if he does that, he'll win.
So you mentioned how Laprise has 2 losses, and Bofando has 2 losses as well, but if you look closer into those losses, they're the kind of L's where he axe kicked some dude, the dude went down, and Bofando went to follow up, and then he knees the down opponent in the face and gets DQ'd. That's what Bofando's losses are like, and that's part of the reason that I'm not betting on him here, because I'm worried that we're going to whoop Laprise's ass and then fucking get disqualified, soccer kick him or something like that. Because Galore Bofando is totally that dude. And let me tell you something. Talk about an athletic freak. This dude's coming out there. He's throwing, multiple side kicks to the air, and it kind of looks like, oh, why is he doing it to the air? But then you see the dexterity this dude has, and then he spins and he hits you with the heel. I mean, the dude's absolutely nasty. He's a freak athlete. I think he's going to knock Chad Laprise the fuck out. I think it's going to be a devastating KO, but you bring up good points. If Laprise decides to, do some TriStar shit, try to take this dude down, we have seen in the past, like in 2010 when Galore Bofando got taken down, he wasn't really able to get back up, but he did have something good going for him. He was kind of composed. It wasn't like who's someone that it wasn't like if you take down Sage Northcutt or Oluwale, right? It was a little bit better than that. He was more composed. But then I saw, towards the latter part of his career, like 2014, 2015, he gets that wizard. He is using his explosiveness and his athleticism to get him back up to the feet. When he has a little opening, he was in bottom side control. He had a little opening to get back up to his feet, and he did. So I feel like he has the awareness. It's just that, that was on a much lower level than what he's fighting now with Laprise. But I feel like Laprise is a very lazy guy. And the reason I say that is, the dude has no business at 170. I know he just beat fucking Brian Camozzi and some dude that's not even on the roster, but when Chad Laprise starts fighting these real welterweights, he's going to be in big trouble, because if you go back and you watch the Brian Camozzi fight, just watch that and compare it to the T-Belt Gowdy fight, even though he missed weight for that fight because he's a fat fuck. But what I'm trying to say here is the dude's a little fat for welterweight, man. The dude has no business at welterweight. The dude's a lightweight. He's just too lazy to cut. And I don't really feel sympathy for that, because, once again, the example I always use, look at our boy James Vick, 6'3". If anyone's got an excuse to not cut to lightweight anymore, it's him. If anyone has an excuse to go up a weight class, it's him. And you're telling me, 5'9" Chad Laprise can't make 155? I don't buy it for a second. I just think he's a fat, lazy fuck. And I think he's going to get knocked out in this fight. And then after that, he's going to get sent back down to 155. But if he continues to fight at 70, I'll fade him his next fight. The reason I'm not fading him here is because I'm really worried about that DQ, man. I feel like we're going to knock him down and then soccer kick him, or knock him down and hit him with an illegal knee. Like, Bofando's done that more than once, man. This ain't a one-time thing where you excuse him. Motherfucker did it more than once, you know what I'm saying? So don't be surprised when it happens again. And also don't be surprised if Laprise finds a way to grind out Bofando, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to try to test the stand-up. I think he's going to get knocked out. But before... that's my prediction, but I want to also mention that Laprise handled Brian Camozzi exactly how you're supposed to. I really love that performance. Like, he hit him with a straight right to the body, immediately hurt Brian Camozzi. Camozzi starts backpedaling, and Camozzi covers up, and then Laprise blasts like 4 shots to the body. It was absolutely beautiful, puts him away. I was like, damn, Laprise is a vet doing shit like that. But then we've seen times like when he got caught by Trinaldo, and then he's pulling guard and, letting himself get pounded out. He's straight quitting that fight. So... he's a very tough dude to trust. I'm going Galore Bofando by KO. Now, man, the final prelim. We got Abel Trujillo. He's minus 200. The comeback on John Makdessi is plus 170. Now, I know we usually always fade John Makdessi, but the thing is, can you trust the vegan Abel Trujillo at minus 200?
I feel like Abel should get it done, but I feel like Abel's also on the decline. I feel like, what is he now, 34, 35? But, we know the deal with McDessie. It just takes one good little chin touch, a gust of wind, and he does the chicken dance. Guy's been rocked several times in the octagon. Now, he's under the assumption that he's a new man now. My boy Emmanuel Sanchez is going to be in his corner for this fight. He's been living at Emmanuel Sanchez's house, and honestly, I just think that those guys are just putting more punishment on that brain. Manny Sanchez and that jaw. Manny Sanchez, Anthony Felder, these guys.
Sergio's getting off on him too.
You know what I'm saying? These guys are touching up that chin, And the thing with Abel is why, when it was lower, I couldn't do it is because Abel's that type of guy where, yeah, he has a very good winning percentage, but look at the guys he's beaten for a second. Roger Bowling, not in the UFC. Jamie Varner, not in the UFC. We know the deal with Jamie Varner. Jordan Rinaldi just wasn't ready, and that fight got very hairy. I bet on Jordan Rinaldi in that spot.
Wait till you hear what Rinaldi's next fight is. That's all I gotta say.
And and Rinaldi straight up broke him in the second. It was just Rinaldi was inexperienced, and he took the fight on short notice, and Abel pulled it out. His other win is
Tony Sims.
Tony Sims, not in the UFC.
That's it, bro.
That's it, yeah. So, and the T-Bow fight, it's unfortunate that things went that way, but he just got his life changed by James Vick. He got broken from the opening bell, and that's the type of guy Abel Trujillo is. I'm not saying that he can't come back from adversity because he has come back from adversity, but we've seen him quit multiple times. I know he dropped Tony Ferguson 2 times, but
James Vick to John Makdessi, that's almost like that's a gift card.
The thing is, I'm saying I think he's going to knock Makdessi out, but I'm saying, betting on it, you have to be very careful because what if Makdessi, I'm not saying he's going to be a new man because he's not a new man, but I'm saying what if Makdessi has a little bit more confidence than in the past where he's letting some spinning shit go or some side kick goes and Abel gets hit in a way and he's just questioning himself and because he has done that in the past. You think when Tony Ferguson fought Abel Trujillo that he didn't know that he was going to get dropped 2 times? I'm sure he knew he was going to get dropped. And he treated Abel the way he's supposed to when Vic fought him. You think he didn't know that Abel was going to come in hard? Of course he knew that, and he honestly ate the shots well. I feel like Abel's punching power, it's good, but I don't think it's one punch KO power. I know he KO'd Roger Bowling 100 years ago, Marcus Lefesser. That was a beautiful performance.
That was a different Abel, by the way.
Exactly, that's a different guy. I feel like that Tony Ferguson fight took a lot out of him because I watched that fight yesterday and he got fucked up bad. And, but I think he's going to win that fight. I can never pick Makdessi in a fight. I've successfully faded him against Yancy Medeiros. And, I would have successfully faded him if that French guy, Mehdi Baghdad, didn't go for a flying armbar. So that just shows you the level that Makdessi's on. When he's arguably losing to Mehdi Baghdad, who's not in the UFC as well. I think the guy's completely young, but be very fucking careful because I got that feeling it's that type of fight where I feel like Abel's on the decline as well. I feel like both guys are on the decline. I don't think Abel will ever see the good Abel Trujillo again. Not that he was even good to begin with in the first place. I just feel like he took advantage of a lot of guys that were on their way out, just like he might do here. But I'm going to take Abel by KO, but I would not be shocked. I'm not saying that Makdessi's going to win, but I would not be shocked if this fight gets really hairy.
I'm also picking Abel, and I'm also not betting it, but I'm a little bit more confident than you are, man, because look, man, this dude, Abel, even though we can say who he's lost, who he's beat, but look, he only loses to Khabib, Tony Ferguson, Gleison Tibau, James Vick. Those are fucking top guys, man, top 15 guys. And basically, what I think is going to happen is he's going to charge forward, big left hook on that cracked jaw of John Makdessi. I think he's going to put him down. I think it's going to be a first-round knockout. Unfortunately, this ain't the Abel Trujillo that fought Roger Bull, and this ain't the Abel Trujillo that put that clinic on Marcus Lefesser, that knocked out Jamie Varner, because that guy, I would bet that guy to knock out John Makdessi for sure, but the thing is he's declined a little bit. I don't know if it's USADA, I don't know if it's, going vegan, whatever it is, man. He ain't the same guy he used to be, but they say power's the last thing to go. So I think what's gone a little bit is his athleticism, because you remember the freak athlete he was when he first came into the UFC. We were like, yo, this dude is fucking scary. But he ain't that guy no more. but he still has enough to beat John Makdessi. I don't think John Makdessi's got shit. I don't give a fuck if he's living with my boy Manny Sanchez. Like you said, man, it's kind of like who was that one person that was training at ATT last week that we shat all over? We're like, you mean to tell me this dude's getting beat up by Poirier every day? Like, who was it again, man? Like, there was a dude on last week's card where we were like, you mean to tell me that? Oh, yeah, the dude we faded, fucking Chris Gritzmacher. Like, the motherfucker was at ATT. It's like, oh, as if that's going to make him win the fight. Like, bro.
Just like Alex Chambers was at ATT when she was fighting Nadia Kassim. It don't fucking matter.
Yeah, so I don't care if John Makdessi's living in Emmanuel Sanchez's
he could be training at Jackson's Alliance,
house.
Extreme Couture, Black Zillions, wherever the fuck. But actually, another thing to mention, Abel actually left Henry Hoof, the guys that bought him up. He left those guys a while ago. He's training with Neil Melanson and what's the boxing guy's name?
I don't know, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that guy. So, I forgot his name.
Look, the bottom line here is that if Emmanuel Sanchez was fighting Abel Trujillo, then I don't care if he's stepping up a weight class. Then we talk about Max betting Emmanuel Sanchez, but this ain't Emmanuel Sanchez. I don't care if it's his best friend. I don't care what it is. John Makdessi with a million broken jaws. We heard the quote a couple years back before the Yancey fight where it's like, I'm too small for lightweight, but I'm too big for featherweight. I don't even think I belong here. He's contemplating retirement. Now this is, he thinks he's got a second win, but he really doesn't. I got Abel Trujillo by knockout. Main card time, light heavyweight division. Misha Cirkunov, he's minus 165. The comeback on Glover Teixeira is plus 145. Now, Shaq, we majorly fucked up on Misha Cirkunov's last fight. I'll tell you why. So, I faded him against Krylov. I knew that first L was coming soon. And then when he beat Krylov, I was like, well, shit, maybe I was wrong about this guy. And then the next fight, he gets knocked out by the very first punch against Volkan Oezdemir. So, man, I fucked up my opportunity to fade him in basically an easy money situation against Volkan. Now he's fighting Glover. Glover's plus 145. You think Glover's got what it takes to hand Misha his second straight L in a row?
It's funny. I actually faded Misha Cirkunov back when he fought Kudalaba, when Kudalaba was making his debut, because, Misha's always struck me as the type of guy, just the way his body's built and the way his face reacts to shots, that exactly what happened in that Volkan fight, I've always pictured that happening to him. He's always struck me, I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong. He's always struck me as the type of guy that would go out stiff or, cover up and not take a knee, but just go down like how he did against Volkan. And I know Volkan finishes guys in under 2 minutes, but if you actually watch the shot that clipped Misha, that shot,
and his reaction, bro.
His reaction, straight down, cover up, over with. And I've been waiting. I was away for the Krylov fight. I would have probably faded him against Krylov. But we know the deal with Krylov. He either finishes you, or he gets finished. And Misha beat him to the punch. And not to mention that, Glover is coming off a devastating L against Gustafsson, where he got wobbled 100 times. But that's Gustafsson. Misha's not going to run off and circle off and throw that uppercut off the jab like that. Misha's what we like to refer to as a stiff. The guy's a stiff. And, like I said, it's unfortunate I passed up on plus 335 against Volkan, because I've always seen that coming. Now, in this spot, the line has actually completely flipped. It opened up minus 155 Glover, and now it's plus 145. So all the action's coming on Misha. And, it's interesting because I'm wondering if people are under the assumption that he's going to come out here and grind Glover Teixeira, because that's the way he generally wins fights. His striking is actually not that bad. It's just that the way he reacts, like he makes these facial reactions when he gets punched. And, I know he went to Thailand for this fight. He's been training at Tiger Muay Thai. He actually did some training with your boy James Vick for this fight. And
Misha did?
Yeah. And in Thailand.
I didn't know all that.
Yeah. And but the thing is, man, I feel like Glover's that type of guy. Yeah, he's old. Yeah, he's getting chinnier. Yeah, he's on the decline. The thing is, I'm not even going to say he's on the decline. I feel like Glover's just maintaining. I feel like Glover's always been the same Glover. We know how to beat Glover. When he fights John Jones, when he fights the Anthony Rumbles, when he fights the Gustafssons, the top 3 guys in the world, of course, yeah, he'll lose. But then on his best day, don't forget about what he did to OSP. At the time, a lot of people thought OSP was going to run right through Glover. And, he fucked OSP up. If you see OSP's face at the end of that fight, it was bloodied, battered, and he made OSP quit. And, let's not forget, he knocked out the Bellator champion Ryan Bader as well. Faced adversity on that fight. Bader cracked him hard early. Glover got wobbled, and what'd he do? He put Bader on his ass, and he knocked him out cold.
Beat Jared Cannonier early
this year. He got wobbled in that fight, stayed calm. That's the difference between the two. When Misha gets wobbled, he just strikes me as the type of guy, that's it. he'll go down. If you can crack him, he'll go down. When Glover gets hit, he ain't gonna go down unless it's Anthony Rumble Johnson, the hardest hitter in MMA, arguably. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like Glover is just gonna win this fight because he's tougher, and I feel like I could be completely wrong. If Misha comes out here and grinds Glover for 3 rounds, congratulations. I would have not seen that coming because this is a guy that also got taken down by Cutelaba in the first wrestling exchange. Cutelaba they had he had double unders on Cutelaba, and Cutelaba actually got on top when he tried to go for the throw, and then Krylov took him down as well. So, Misha, he doesn't strike me as one of these top 5 guys. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I could be completely wrong. But I actually think Glover's going to knock him out stiff somewhere in the second round. I think Misha's actually going to get off to a good start. I wouldn't be shocked if he cracked Glover with a straight left. But I actually think at some point Glover's going to keep the pressure on him and knock him out cold.
I'm with you on this one, man. I've never been impressed by Misha Cirkunov, and I mean, let's not even talk about when when Volkan Oezdemir blew him a kiss and knocked him out. Well, let's talk about when my next door neighbor Tex Johnson tapped him out with a fucking knee bar. You know what I'm saying, man? And it's just one of those situations where I feel like kind of like Oluwale Bamgbose is a front runner. This is a more skilled front runner.
He's just good. He just needs to be brought out to light. Look, I can be completely wrong. He might go in there and smoke Glover. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I've seen Glover training for this fight. I'm sure
if he smokes Glover, that's only due to the fact that Glover is an aging competitor.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not due to the fact that Misha is a top 5 guy because he definitely isn't at all. Like you said, he's way too stiff on the feet, and he doesn't react to shots well. He doesn't react to adversity well. It's just a case of, is he too big and physical for Glover Teixeira? Because, I mean, that fucking guillotine he had on Krylov was beautiful. So he's got some nice submission techniques. It's just, can he get there against, I believe, a jiu-jitsu black belt, right? And Glover Teixeira, who's nasty himself. I mean, you've seen him choke out dudes with guillotines, and he had a very high-level guillotine against James Tahuna when he trapped his arm. So the dude can't even fight the hands, and he's getting choked out. You know what I mean?
That's the type of vet we're talking about. And, I mean, a lot of lesser men, let's just put it for example, if Gustafsson would have hit Misha Cirkunov that many times with those uppercuts, the fight would have been over in the first round. Glover has so much heart where Glover will not quit. You have to put him out cold. You know what I'm saying?
And another thing about the Gustafsson versus Glover fight, because I know everyone only remembers the highlight. They don't remember what actually happened in that fight. Well, let's talk about the first round when Glover went out there and slammed
him on his
Alexander Gustafsson. Let's also talk about in all the stand-up exchanges that Alexander Gustafsson would run away, like literally sprint. It's just no one talks about that anymore because they only remember the highlight. But, I mean, at the time on Twitter, everyone was like, why is Gustafsson running away? It's just the highlight reel knockout made them forget about it. But the dude was literally sprinting across the octagon when he was facing Glover on the stand-up exchanges. And I'll tell you right here, right now, in half the battle, Misha Cirkunov ain't going to be running nowhere. He's going to be right in Glover's face, and that's what's going to leave the opening for either a right uppercut, left hook knockout, maybe an overhand right to a left hook, because those are the two combos that Glover likes. So I'm going with Glover Teixeira by KO here. I've never been impressed with Misha, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's no big deal. No money on the line for me here. My only investment on this card as of now is Alessio Di Chirico because he's fighting the Kevin Casey of the fucking middleweight division now. The new Kevin Casey. It's funny because it's like Kevin Casey was that guy where like total quitter, but like he had a submitter's chance. Well, Bamgbose is the version of that, except he's got a puncher's chance. He doesn't have a submitter's chance, so he ain't shit. I really don't think Misha Cirkunov is shit either, and we'll find out if I'm right or wrong. I've never had a problem being wrong. That's why when you're a long-term winner, these wins and losses, they are what they are. You take them like a man and you move on, and that's how we're able to produce those results. Don't put too much stock into things. Don't get emotional. I'm going Glover Teixeira by knockout. Now, next up, it ain't the co-main event yet. We got to talk about the strikers duel first because we got Santiago Genchiboa Ponzinibbio. He's minus 190. The comeback on Platinum Mike Perry is plus 165. I mean, dude, holy shit. Before this fight even happens, this is what people like to consider the people's main event. But now it's time for these two to do war, and I have a feeling they're going to throw down until one guy falls.
It's a great fight on paper. Ponzinibbio, KO and Gunny stiff, and say what you want about the eye poke. That's what Ponzinibbio does. He gets away with it every fight.
Get ready for it here.
So you better be prepared for it if you're betting Perry. He's going to eye poke Perry. He's going to stick his hands out. It is what it is. It's the dirty Cuban, Argentinian tactics. You know how those Spaniards do it. And that's what he's going to do. He does it every single fight. It doesn't matter who you are. He's going to leave his hands out, and Perry's going to be like, put your hands up, bro, and he's not going to do it. The thing with Mike Perry is, I actually gained a lot of respect for the guy fighting because about a month ago when he was fighting Thiago, I thought he was super overrated because, I saw the Juban fight. I saw the game plan to beat him. And it's, very simple. You just need a guy that reacts well to the shots. And apparently these guys can't react well to the shots because the guy truly has fucking devastating KO power. I mean, 100% KO rate. All of his fights, he's either knocks you out.
Juban didn't fight in any pocket exchanges.
Exactly. That's the way you beat him. That's how you beat. If you can stay out at distance, Perry is very beatable. Now, look, I'm not saying that. The thing that makes this matchup more intriguing compared to a lot of others, I feel like a lot of other guys would beat Perry. And I think, eventually he'll start getting more exposed. But in this specific fight, even though Ponzinibbio is better than those guys, the couple guys that I think can take Perry, I feel like this is a better matchup for Perry because Ponzinibbio gets tagged in the first 2 minutes of every fight. Don't forget this guy got dropped by Sean Strickland like 2 or 3 times with jabs. His fight against Court McGee comes out getting tagged by Court McGee. And I mean, Ponzinibbio is very vulnerable early. It's just that when Ponzinibbio, gets his eye-poking game down right and, finds his range, then he generally puts guys down. And that's a matter of this fight comes down to. Can Perry get to his chin early and let him and spook Ponzinibbio early? Or I wouldn't be shocked if Ponzinibbio did it to him because both guys have that type of power. And, I really wanted to bet Perry in this spot, but the thing is, I can't count on Ponzinibbio fighting smart because, like I said, the game plan to beat Perry is not very hard. It's just how you react to the shots. For example, Danny Hot Chocolate could not react well to the shots, but in just the open exchanges, I mean, Perry's chin was wide open in the air. No head movement at all. Zero head movement, the kicks to the body, the kicks to the head, the kicks to the leg, all stop him in his tracks every single time, just like Juban was able to do. But those guys are southpaws. I feel like you fade Perry, against southpaws, not in this type of spot. I feel like this spot is too hairy. I feel like the exchanges are going to be too crazy. I feel like you fade Perry long-term against southpaws because the straight lefts, the body kicks, the low kicks, the head kicks are all going to be open because he has no answer for it. Those all make him, stop for a second. So I'm gonna pass, from a betting wise. I'm gonna take Pons, just because I feel like maybe he is gonna be calm here. I feel like maybe he is gonna jab him first, then take him out. But I would not be shocked in the slightest if Perry took him out. Like I said, Ponzinibbio has been rocked several times in the octagon. I remember Ryan LaFleur rocking this guy at one point as well. So the guy's been wobbled several times. Perry's got a tougher chin, in my opinion. Perry spooks a lot of guys, so he's got very good mental warfare, in the lead up to these fights as well. So I'm gonna go with Pons, but it's a pass fight for me. I'm gonna sit back, enjoy it, and see who takes the canvas net first.
Man, Pons' eye-poking game is really fucking on point, bro. And I was one of those people that were like, talking shit when Gunny was trying to appeal that loss. I was like, you can't get knocked out with an eye poke to the chin. But if you watch that fight in slow motion, bro, the way he sets up those eye pokes is what he'll do is he'll throw a jab, and then when he's faking the cross, he throws the eye poke, then he comes back with a left hook. So he'll mix in the eye pokes with his combination.
For example, in that Zach Cummings fight, I actually bet on Cummings there, and one of those eye pokes got through, and Cummings' eye just swelled up. It wasn't actually from the punch; it was actually from the eye poke. Like his eye completely closed because Pons threw it straight right, and when he went to slip, he stuck it out there, and Cummings was like, "Oh fuck!" and then fight was over.
Bro, his eye poke game is subtle as fuck. You have to go on Fight Pass right now, watch that Gunny fight in slow motion because, like I said, in the middle of his combinations, he'll fake a punch and throw an eye poke. So it's like a regular jab, then an eye poke, then a left hook. It's kind of like that's how he throws a 1-2-3. You know what I'm saying? So that already makes me not want to bet against this guy because a lot of these dudes that get eye poked, the referee doesn't even give a fuck because they think it's an actual punch. Like you watch that Nordine Taleb fight. Nordine goes out there, wins the first round because Pons gets tagged early in every fight, by the way. And then Santiago set up those eye pokes, and then he dropped Nordine, man. And the ref didn't stop it at all. The ref didn't give him time to wipe out his eye or nothing. He gets away with it. Same thing against Gunny. He eye poked Gunny, and then he went for the finishing shot, landed a beautiful straight right, which, dude, his laser beams down the pipe. This dude can throw some serious heat with that straight right, but he's able to utilize those eye pokes in the process.
And it's actually funny because his teammate, Antonio Carlos Jr., does the same
Oh
exact
my
thing.
god.
And they both get warned in every single fight, and they keep doing it. And it's funny, I see them hitting pads with the same exact boxing coach. So maybe I'm under the speculation of their boxing coach teaches, his name's Kelton Pintos or whatever.
Oh, there's another Kelton on the planet?
Kelson,
Shout out to my boy.
something like Kelson or Kelton, one of the guys. But
It's not Keaton, right?
no. Fuck Keaton. But Keaton got his ass beat. But like I said, man, those eye pokes are very dangerous.
Yeah, they really are. So, back to predicting this fight. From a financial standpoint, it's dog or pass, but the reason that I'm leaning more towards the pass is because, bro, I'm worried about getting eye poked and then eating a straight right to the chin and going out cold. But at the same time, Santiago leaves so many openings in those first couple exchanges. I mean, you saw Court McGee tag this guy up. If fucking
Sean Strickland dropped this guy twice.
If fucking soft hands Court McGee is rocking you, just imagine what Platinum Mike Perry's gonna do. So I'm actually thinking Platinum Mike Perry gets this upset here. I think he knocks out Santiago with a counter left hook. It's just that when he gets eye poked and the ref doesn't call it, and then he gets knocked out with a straight right, I'm going to be really pissed off. So for that reason, I'm passing from a bet, but my pick is Mike Perry via a counter knockout with the hands. And also, I want to point out Mike Perry's last fight real quick, because everyone's under the impression that he was in there with some jobber. Look, just because there's an undefeated kid making his UFC debut does not mean he's a jobber. What it means is that he's green and inexperienced, and he was also in the wrong weight class. That dude's not a jobber. He was just a green prospect in the wrong weight class. And Mike Perry handled him exactly how you're supposed to handle him. And bro, that clinch work he had in there, the way he moved this kid around in the clinch, that was absolutely beautiful. That was some vet shit. You got to go back and rewatch that, because he moved his head in the exact position that he wanted him in for the knee, and one knee was all she wrote, man. It was a beautiful knockout. And when you look at Mike Perry, all his wins are by knockout. He has an 100% knockout rate in his wins. And that's not a coincidence, man. That's not something that you sleep on. That's not something you joke about. It's kind of like when we used to talk about Paul Daly, man. These dudes talk about how they want to stand and bang with Paul Daly. And, you saw what happened when Lorenz Larkin tried to stand and bang with Paul Daly. When you stand and bang with a guy like Paul Daly, when you stand and bang with a guy like Mike Perry, chances are you're hitting the deck. So, you know what I'm saying? I think Santiago's going to take a canvas nap. I'm scared of a bet for the reasons I mentioned. May the best man win. Co-main event of the evening. Ricardo the Bully Lamas. He's minus 275. The comeback on Josh Emmett is plus 235. Now, a lot of people think this is an easy contest for Ricardo Lamas, and it could be. He's the more experienced guy. But historically speaking, the short, stocky Team Alpha Male guys have always given him problems. Isn't that right, Shaq?
Danny Castillo, where does he train at?
Team Alpha Male.
Where does Chad Mendes train at?
Team Alpha Male.
So he's 0-2 against Alpha Male, and he's fighting a guy that trains
And
where?
how did those two losses happen?
KO. And where's he? And Josh Emmett trains where?
Team Alpha Male. His body type is what? Short, stocky wrestler with an overhand?
With an overhand, right. Just like Castillo and Chad Mendes. Now, I see a lot of people are saying Lamas is easy money, and I completely disagree. I actually feel Emmett a lot. Emmett's actually one of the dogs that I'm highly considering, and I know on paper it doesn't make sense. He's one fight in the weight class, and now but he's actually got fights at 145 on the local scene now. Josh Emmett, UFC debut against Tuck, a 5'10" guy. Emmett's actually 5'6". Lamas is actually taller than Emmett still, with him dropping to, he still has the reach on Emmett, dropping to 45. And, against John Tuck, a 5'10" guy, he's fucking cracking Tuck in the first round. And, I'm telling you right now, Tuck regretted taking that fight within the first minute in that fight. Because when he felt the wind of that overhand right, he completely shit himself, and he wasn't able to throw. Now, I know Tuck has a knack for not throwing, but I honestly believe it was due to just the power of that. And now, when we talk about Christos Giagos in the UFC was a guy, how did he lose his fights? Because he couldn't...
Decision.
Exactly, decision. He kept getting wrestled by, boring-ass Chris Wade. Shout out to my boy Chris Wade, by the way, for beating Frankie Perez and catching that parlay with Jimmy Rivera. Have fun laying on guys in Ring of Combat or wherever you're going to fight.
And you want to fight in the NFC?
Stop crying on the
I know some of my friends would love to fight you.
Look, what did you expect, bro? The That's why I didn't bet him against Ruslan, because the guy's a fucking boring ass fighter. But I took advantage of him against Frankie because I knew he was gonna fucking lay on Frankie, and that's exactly what he did.
When you get cut coming off a win, that's all I gotta say.
When you're 5-2 in the UFC and you get cut, you know what I'm saying? That just shows you how boring you are, and it is what it is, bro. You can't get mad about it. You gotta fight, and it's a business.
And you can't be boring as fucking making union comments either.
You're always talking shit about the UFC and you're laying on people. He's like the John Cholish. Hey, he was 5-2. Only losses to Ruslan and Islam, but it is what it is. But what was I saying? But yeah, as far as Emmett, so he's so used to Christos Giagos. He gets subbed by Burns, gets laid on by Chris Wade, but generally he wins the striking exchange. I just saw him fight an undefeated Russian Taisumov protege, and I mean Christos was teeing off on him on the feet. He couldn't stuff the takedowns. But when he fought Josh Emmett gave him his fight. Emmett gave him the fight Christos always wins, which is a striking fest. And I mean, Emmett had him on ice skates from the very first opening, the very first overhand right. I mean, it was almost similar to that chicken dance that RDA hit on. Remember when he fought Gleison Tebow?
Of course.
Yeah, that chicken dance where he was like...
Same night as Hendo and Shogun.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was one of those type of chicken dances. And, I mean, he did like 3 of them in the lead up to the KO, and then eventually his chin just couldn't take any much. That's the type of power Emmett has. And that power really hasn't translated yet in the UFC. It just did his last fight, but I'm expecting him to put a guy down eventually. Now, when we talk about Ricardo Lamas, one of the best guys to ever do it. One of the greatest featherweights of all time. I mean, this guy beat Cub. When he beat Hatu Hioki, that was a big deal at the time. When he... sub Charles, the Jason Knight fight, the Charles Oliveira fight. I mean, the guys had great performance. The Erick Koch fight when he got that title shot, and he fucked Erick Koch up bad. And but look at the size of those guys, and look at the size of Emmett. Now I know Emmett's short, but what's the blueprint to beating Lamas? You have to spook him with power punching. Max Holloway, it doesn't really have one punch KO power, but the fact that he just kept
Max Holloway beat his ass.
Holloway fucked him up bad. And you know what I'm saying? Because he stayed on him with the hands. But Max doesn't have that one punch KO power. But I truly believe that Emmett does. It just, we haven't seen it yet.
Let me comment on that real quick, because I know some fucking fan is going to be like, oh, but he only has 3 career KOs. Okay, real quick. In Danny Castillo's first 13 fights, he only had about 2 KO wins. In Chad Mendes' first 13 fights, he only had about 2 KO wins too. In Josh Emmett's first 13 fights, he's got 3 KO wins. So actually, he's done a tiny bit better than Chad and Danny did early in their careers.
Exactly. So, when I look at this fight, I feel like I truly believe Lamas made a mistake taking this fight, because you're giving these guys that have nothing to lose the opportunity of a lifetime. Now, going into the Knight fight, I was a little skeptical, because I was like, I wanted to bet Ricardo bad, because like I said last week, my thoughts on Jason Knight. I've always thought he was overrated. I've always thought he was going to get exposed at some point, because when you look at his game, yeah, he's tough, yeah, he's scrappy, yeah, he won't quit, but the skills, when we're talking about the upper echelon of the division, he's not going to beat anybody up there. I'm not saying Lamas might come in here and take care of Emmett quick. I honestly don't think so, man. I know it's out of the blue. I know he's fighting the number 3 guy in the world, but like we said, when Lamas was fighting Jason Knight, he's only maintaining. He's not getting any better. He's not getting worse, but he's the same guy he was 5 years ago. He's the same guy he was when he fought Aldo. He's the same guy he was when he fought Hatsu. I don't think the guy's getting any better, man. Now, Emmett, after the Tuck fight, he goes in there against Holtzman and has a completely bloody war. Now, when you watch a tape on that, you would think, okay, this guy's not on Lamas' level, and he might not be, because him and Holtzman had a bloody, ugly, ugly fight. And the shots that were being traded, though, can Lamas eat those shots? Bro, and we're talking about Holtzman. I know Holtzman is, 10-2.
Holtzman's huge.
He's bigger than Emmett. I mean, when he
Holtzman's going to end his career at 170.
Exactly.
Let's just put it like that.
Holtzman doesn't have too many cuts at 155 left in him. And when you're bigger than Josh Emmett, and I mean, at times, they were tying up. And imagine how many times, when Emmett's on the local scene and he ties up with these jobbers and he just dominates them. And he gets into the UFC at 155 and he's tying up with Des Green, a 5'10 and a half, 5'11 lightweight that's fought at 170 at times. I'll tell you right now, Lamas can never fight at 170.
John, you can't even fight 55.
You know what I'm saying?
Yuri knocked his ass out.
You know what I'm saying? he's been in there with, I know that, skills is one thing, but I truly believe in certain matchups, the size plays in a factor here. And I feel like Emmett made the right move to dropping the 145. Initially, I thought it was a terrible move. I was like, bro, why? Because when I bet on Des Green against Rustam, which lost, but watching that fight, I actually gained a lot of respect for Emmett because he is a one-dimensional striker because he just throws overhand after overhand after overhand. But I actually like his setups on it, man. The setups, he fakes low, comes high, he'll mix in the switch, like a switch step, like TJ does, and come with the right hook. So I mean, he's got different setups to it. And now when we talk about Lamas, his last fight against Jason Knight, I honestly don't think it was a good win, but I honestly don't think Jason Knight's on that level. Like, MMA math doesn't work, but I think if Jason Knight and Emmett fought at 145, Jason Knight would be KO'd stiff in the first round. His fight against Charles Oliveira, great win, beautiful win. But we know the deal with Charles. We know that, hey, if you survive the jiu-jitsu storm early, Charles will quit, like he always does. And then his fight against Diego Sanchez. Diego Sanchez is like 2-20.
Diego Sanchez is 80 years old.
Exactly.
But hey, shout out to my boy Diego for that awesome thing he did for that kid.
That's great and all. You know what I'm saying?
Even though that doesn't make us money.
Exactly.
Right?
When I actually look at Lamas' last few wins, I mean, I hate saying that, you know what I'm saying? I actually think Emmett's the toughest fight.
Well, real quick, because someone's going to say, well, what about Emmett's last 2 wins?
Yeah, but the thing is, those are against, Felipe Serginaggio, he set a record for knockdowns, and I know that Felipe, historically, this is the first chance. Well, I'll say this about the Felipe fight. That was the first time. Felipe is actually a very good fighter, but the knock on Felipe is he beats himself. He finds a way to go to his back. But guys don't beat Felipe on the feet the way Emmett did. Who beats Felipe on the feet? Like, I know Feely didn't. True. I know his teammate Feely didn't. I know fucking Jared Sanders didn't. I know fucking Goyito didn't. I know fucking all these guys, they beat him by Yuri didn't. I know all these fucking guys didn't beat him on the feet. I'll tell you that much. Is because
Pepe didn't.
You fade Felipe historically just because he always finds a way to go to his back. On the feet, the motherfucker is serious. And I mean, Felipe loves the stand and bang. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what Felipe lives for. And all his losses, he never been knocked out in his entire career. And Emmett fucking spooked him with the first right hand, just like how he did against Tuck. And I just feel like Des Green has such a long history of, facing guys that size that he was able to react to the shots well. And that fight was very close, in my opinion. I thought Des Green won 29-28, but it was time for his first loss. Everyone has to take that first L. Now, Lamas, like I said, I feel like he's maintaining. Now, it's a huge step up in competition. I mean, going from Felipe to fucking Ricardo Lamas, a top 5 featherweight of all time, arguably. Lamas has seen it and done it all, but I honestly think this is the toughest fight for him on this stretch since the Holloway fight. I think it's a tougher fight than Charles because Charles is a quitter. I feel like Jason Knight's not on that level. I feel like Diego Sanchez doesn't win fights. I feel like
no one gives a shit about Erick.
No one gives a fuck about Erick. Erick Koch's completely dumb. My boy Dustin put a severe ass whooping on him that changed his life forever. Ricardo was the one that, started off, and Dustin put the icing on the cake, and Clay Guida sealed the deal.
Darren
Cruikshank actually sealed the deal. You know what I'm saying? So, when y'all really look at Lamas' wins, I hate saying that, but I think Emmett's a tougher fight than all those because, one, Emmett has nothing to lose going into this fight, and historically, how do you beat Ricardo Lamas? You knock him the fuck out. And I feel like Emmett's due for a KO. I feel like it should have happened against Felipe, but like I said, Felipe is a fucking warrior when it comes to stand-up exchanges. Felipe doesn't shy away from
it's just pretty simple. Felipe's got a better chin than Lamas.
Exactly. And I feel like, the little shot that Mendez hit him with, we saw what happened. Lamas fucking face planted and was out of it completely.
Castillo.
The same with Castillo. You know what I'm saying? Face plant and out. And I feel like the same thing's going to happen here. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to say Josh Emmett pulls off one of the biggest upsets of the year. I think he knocks Ricardo Lamas out in the first or second round. And I think he changes his life. Now, look. If Lamas schools him, I wouldn't be shocked. I honestly don't see it because I think he's too big to hold down. I think that Lamas, I've been hearing him say that he's looking to finish his fight early. So if he wants to stand and bang with Emmett, by all means, go ahead. You might honestly see me play this because I just honestly have that feeling that Emmett's going to get this job done and shock the world. So I'm going to go with Emmett.
Well, there's no debating that Ricardo Lamas was supposed to fight Jose Aldo on this card. And when you're getting up to fight Jose Aldo, and you already lost to the guy, it's probably the biggest rematch of your life. You want it so badly, and then Jose pulls, gets the title shot, and then they call you, and you have to fight this guy that you've never even heard of, named Josh Emmett. You're probably like, oh, really? Like,
who the fuck is that?
Like, bro, seriously?
He thinks it's like Jason Knight. You know what I'm saying? He's
So you might be under the impression that this is another easy fight, and as far as skills are concerned, Lamas is light years ahead of Josh Emmett, but the skill set that Josh Emmett does bring to the table, he's got two things going for him. First of all, you hit this guy with your hardest punch, you're going to break your hand. He's got one of those hard heads where it's like he's just a little bulldog. He's a little tank, man. You hit that guy as hard as you can. You got to be careful. You don't want to hit him as hard as you can because you'll break your hand, man. And another thing that he's got going for him is he's a wrestler with an overhand right. Now, against someone like Max, against someone,
okay, fucking score.
We'll fade his ass. But Lamas has historically shown a weakness against the short, stocky wrestler. The only short, stocky wrestler that he beat was Dennis Bermudez, and, great win, unbelievable victory. But we all know Dennis Bermudez gets dropped every single fight. Not, every other fight, every single fight. So the fact that, Dennis got dropped with a jab and then got choked out. Props to Lamas, but that's not going to happen here. The way I would see Lamas winning this fight is, first of all, he has to avoid that big overhand right to the chin. And I understand that Emmett hasn't been knocking too many people out. He has knocked some. Not too many, but also he was in the wrong weight class. He was a fucking small-ass dude. He's a musclehead, but he was a little short dude fighting in the wrong weight class. He's 5'6", fighting at 55. There's guys like Vic who are 6'3" at 55. Okay, the dude had no business at 55, but he was getting by on his sheer athleticism, his will. I mean, the dude's a competitor. Something people need to understand is that just because you haven't heard of Josh Emmett doesn't mean that he isn't good, because he's the same guy that's been in the training room with TJ Dillashaw. And I'm serious. I know TJ left Alpha Male, but Josh Emmett was there since the beginning. So he was the main training partner for TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt, all these amazing fighters that Alpha Male has produced. So he's been in there. He knows exactly where he stands. Now it's about that experience, because we know for a fact Lamas is the more experienced guy, he's the more seasoned guy, and honestly, he's the better fighter. He's 100% the better fighter. He's better everywhere except one area, and that's the chin, that's the ability to take a punch, and that's where Emmett could totally exploit. The thing is, if Emmett doesn't catch him...
Can I say one thing, though? When has Lamas boxed someone up for 3 rounds, besides Diego Sanchez, who doesn't?
Well, that was the last time. I mean, not for 3 rounds, but what about when he knocked Knight the fuck out in the first round?
Okay, yeah. But like I said, I don't think Knight's...
You asked when was the last time. That was the last time. Yeah. I mean, look, man, it's about either Emmett's going to land that big right hand, and Emmett, like I said already a million times, if you guys didn't get the picture, he's the typical Team Alpha Male guy. He switches his stance like these guys do, and it's all about the setup for the right hand. He's a wrestler with an overhand. That's what he is. He's got the exact same wrestling credentials as Ricardo Lamas. What is it, NAIA? Yeah, you know the deal here. So now it's about, are we going to catch Ricardo Lamas or not? That's really what this fight comes down to. And I think it's going to be actually kind of tough for Emmett to do so. But don't get me wrong. If he hits him with that right hand that Chad Mendes hit him with, that Danny Castillo hit him with, I don't care if the Danny Castillo fight was in 1992.
It happened.
It happened, and it's just that style. Because I hear people talking about how, when you watch tape, you should only watch the last 3 fights that the fighter had. And it's like, yeah, you should watch the last 3 fights, but you should also watch fights where they're going up against the same stylistic matchup that they're fighting upcoming. You know what I'm saying? You want to see how does he stack up against short, stocky wrestlers. So we don't just go to the Chad Mendes fight. We go all the way back to the Danny Castillo fight.
The thing is, he was picking Castillo apart. He was picking Mendes apart until he got caught.
So here it's about, is he going to pick him apart for the duration of the fight, or is he going to pick him apart and get caught? You say he's going to get caught. I'm going to go on the opposite way, but dude, it ain't going to surprise me one bit if this is that classic letdown spot at all, because when you're getting up to fight Jose Aldo, then they call you to fight fucking Josh Emmett. Who the hell is that? I understand where Ricardo, he's been fighting for 10 years. He's probably like, bro, like, listen, I don't even have to train every day. I could beat this guy. You know what I'm saying? So if he's making mistakes like that, he's going to get caught. But knowing the kind of consummate professional Ricardo is, because he really is, he's a fucking absolute badass. Like, when Jason Knight was like, I took you seriously, boy, and Ricardo's like, all right, man, like, cool. Ricardo looked at him like he was fucking stupid. Ricardo's an absolute badass, man.
I love the way, the lead up to the Knight fight, because, Knight really wasn't talking shit, but when they asked him about Knight, who had a shit ton of hype at the time, Lamas was not impressed at all. He was like, I'm going to go out here, I'm going to show you why I'm on a completely different level than him. And that's exactly what he did, man.
Yeah, no, 100%. So once again, it comes down to, is Emmett going to catch him? And if he does catch him, is he going to put him away? Because historically speaking, when Ricardo Lamas gets rocked, he doesn't survive, except for, interestingly enough, except for the Max Holloway fight. But it's not like he survived and came back and won a round.
Style, yeah.
He survived and got the absolute shit beaten out of him. But that's the champion. This is a different style. This is a one shot at a time wrestler with an overhand right. I'm going to say Ricardo Lamas by a very close 29-28 decision. Main event of the evening. Rafael dos Anjos, RDA, he's minus 115, and Ruthless Robbie Lawler is minus 105, man. So, shit, Rafael, he's gone up to 170. He's made it 2-0. And not only that, I mean, he ran through Neil Magny in a way where he kicked him one time, the dude fell, and then he tapped him out.
Who else? I mean, I know it's Magny. I know Magny's a little. I'm not gonna say that about him because Magny wins fights long term. But who took care of Magny like that? I mean, one kick, takedown.
Besides Mike Ricci, right?
Mike Ricci fucking KO'd him stiff. But and Serginho subbed him. But Robbie's last fight against Cerrone. Maybe I might have jumped the gun a little bit too big. I thought he didn't look. I mean, I still don't think he looked good at all. I think he is on the decline. And, like I was saying earlier with Emmett and Lamas, the size, at first, after that fight, I was like, if there's one more guy RDA can beat at 170, it's Robbie, because I think that, Robbie's on the decline, and I still think RDA can win the fight. But the size, man. RDA is so much smaller than Robbie. Just put it this way. RDA's eating food right now, you know what I'm saying? Full meals. I know Robbie ain't. Robbie's cut down from, I bet you when Robbie started this camp, he was over 200 pounds, you know what I'm saying? And RDA's saying that when he's out of camp that he's 195, 200. I just don't see it, man. Like, I just don't see how he'd be that heavy. Now, look, maybe he's right. Maybe he is 195.
If he's 195, he's fat as fuck.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he did. I remember after the Pettis fight how he was looking. I mean, he might have been 200 pounds right there. So maybe the guy just carries weight that we just don't see. And, I mean, on his run to the title, I mean, RDA is one of my favorite fighters of all time because I predicted this guy being champion after he beat Mark Bocek because the improvements the guy was making from fight to fight. And that was at a time where he was still losing to guys like T-Bow, where he was still, getting his jaw broken by Guida. But ever since he got that titanium jaw, I mean, that titanium jaw has resurrected his career because he went from a guy that used to do the chicken dance on shots like those to walking through that type of shit now. So, I mean, we just saw the fight with Tony Ferguson. I'll show you the difference between RDA and Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee's a lot younger, a lot less experienced, but I mean, in terms of the beating that they took, I mean, Tony bludgeoned RDA, and RDA still wouldn't quit. He still won the fourth round of that fight. And I mean, that just shows you the type of skills, but maybe his body just could not maintain. Now, when we talk about Robbie and Cerrone, it was honestly, I don't think that blitz was shit. I think the initial blitz, I think he did that because how do you beat Cerrone? You punk him out. You get in his face and you land straight lefts. Look what RDA did to Cerrone. He got him out of there in 66 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he just punked Cerrone out in the first round like you always do. And, he got taken down in the second and couldn't get back up, which old Robbie's always working it. When he fought Hendricks, the two-time national champion, Hendricks was struggling to hold Robbie down. Cerrone's, holding him down with ease. And, the third round, like we said, Cerrone, both guys are on the decline. And Robbie, was more active and he won the decision. Now, RDA, I feel like, is a better fighter than Robbie Lawler overall. I'll go ahead and say that. I feel like he's probably got less power because Robbie's used to getting hit by fucking Tyron Woodley and Condit and Johnny Hendricks, prime Johnny Hendricks, and, Jake Ellenberger, guys that really fucking crack. And, I feel like RDA is a better striker overall in terms of weapons when I talk about knees. Remember the knees that, got Cerrone out of there quick. The body kicks, like how he landed against Pettis, all in his prime. So I think he's got better weapons on the feet. It just comes down to the size. Is the size going to be too much? Is Robbie going to clip him behind the ear? But the thing is, RDA doesn't go down flush out cold. Like we saw the Eddie Alvarez fight. Eddie hit him with a fucking 100 million shots, and RDA just can't go down because of that titanium jaw, like you mentioned last week on last week's show. That fucking titanium jaw fucking saves him from going down out cold. Now, can he take Robbie down because he's so much smaller? I don't know, man. It's the definition of a past fight for me just because I feel like Robbie's on the decline. Like I said, I don't think his win over Cerrone was impressive at all. I feel like Look what Till did to Cerrone. Look what RDA did to Cerrone. Look what Jorge Masvidal did to Cerrone. RDA, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it's a tough fight for me. I think RDA is a lot smaller. I'm going to go with RDA for the win, though. I feel like he's riding a super momentum wave right now because I honestly did not think, even though he beat Erick, I did not think he was going to win that fight. I thought he was too small. I thought he was too small for Magny. So I think I'm going to go with RDA. But the thing I want to say about that Erick fight is, a lot of people are, well, yeah, Eric's done. But the thing is, name one guy that's taken down Erick with a double leg straight up. You know what I'm saying? Story didn't. Dong Young Kim didn't.
It probably hasn't been since Woodley.
Like in the UFC, name one guy that's completely dominating from the belt. When he lost to Story, it was because Story just held him against the fence and tied him up. He was more physical. When he lost to Kim, it was back and forth. I actually thought he won that fight, but because Kim
addressed the Rory fight.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Oh yeah, he got knocked out by Rory, but
he won the first 2 rounds.
Exactly, you know what I'm saying. But I'm just talking about wrestling wise. Who's taking him down like that, like RDA did? RDA straight up took him down with a double leg. In the UFC, I've never seen that happen. I've always admired Erick's takedown defense, so that's why I bring that up. And RDA took him down like it was nothing. So, and the pace he kept. So it's a tough fight to call. I'm passing. I'm gonna sit back and enjoy 2 legends of the sport. Robbie hits like a fucking truck. Still, the power never leaves. He's way bigger. So I would not be shocked if he came out here and took care of RDA and treated him like a little kid. But I honestly think RDA is the better overall fighter, the guy that has more left in the tank. And I feel like RDA is gonna get it done. I'm actually gonna say by knockout.
What round?
First.
Oh shit, son. He's picking a first round KO for RDA. And I agree with a lot of your points, man. I do think RDA is the overall better fighter. But kind of like we were mentioning with some of these previous fights, I think size does matter, especially at the highest level, man. And I know I was wrong, in RDA's last 2 fights. I felt like the size was going to be a big factor there, and it wasn't, even against the tallest man in the weight class with the longest reach. It didn't matter shit. He hit him with 1 leg kick, dropped him, choked him out. Rafael's black belt. Let's talk about that for a second, bro. His fucking jits is nasty, man. And
another thing I want to say, in the Erick fight, he slipped. You remember when he slipped and ended up on his back in the first round? And I mean, we were watching his face, and look how calm he is. He's just like, don't worry about it.
The jiu-jitsu. Look, man, his jiu-jitsu is so on point, and we know Robbie Lawler in the past. I know he was at 185 pounds, but a lot of his career losses in Strikeforce were via submission. Now, that was also a different Robbie Lawler. That was the kind of guy that was falling asleep at the press conferences, that didn't give 2 fucks. The guy he is now on his UFC run, he's like 10-2 in the UFC since he came back, man. He's been absolutely destroying shit, man. And his takedown defense against Rory McDonald was the best sprawl I've ever seen in my life. It's just, is that the same guy? Rory made some accusations. I don't know if that's true or that's not true. But the bottom line is that Robbie's had some life-changing wars. The Carlos Condit fight, the 2 Rory fights, even the fucking Woodley fight, which wasn't a war, but it was a life-changing KO, the 2 Hendricks fights, man. So he's been through his fair share, but he's so experienced in these 5-round fights at 170, and he's also very good with the judges. That's something we got to talk about. So I know how you're under the impression that, he just kind of blitzed Donald Cowboy to punk him out, and that might be true, but I also think it's something to do with the judges, because he did that exact same approach against Hendricks too. To us, you might be like, oh, these shots are missing, but the way the judges are seeing it, they're like, holy shit, you know what I'm saying? So I'm very curious to see if in this matchup, I know it's southpaw versus southpaw, but Robbie versus Johnny was southpaw versus southpaw too. So I'm curious if he comes out here and blitzes him off the bat, or if he's kind of more patient like he was with Woodley. That's what I'm curious about. I'm also curious if Rafael's going to come with that forward pressure, start body kicking him, because it's going to be it's still to the same side. It's just the way that Robbie's standing, since he's southpaw, it's going to have a little bit of a different effect, because the liver's not going to be completely exposed.
We've seen RDA go right switch kick to the body as well, like against Benson, who's another southpaw.
He fucked Benson up, by the way.
Yeah.
Benson got his ass beat. But
he changed Benson's life. RDA was the initial guy to... You see the streak Benson Henderson's on. RDA is the one that started that.
Look, I agree. Overall, Rafael's the better fighter. If they compete in straight jiu-jitsu, Rafael wins. If they compete in straight wrestling, Rafael wins. In boxing, it might be a little bit different. But kickboxing, you can make a case Rafael could win. But now we're talking MMA, 4-ounce gloves. It's a different animal. Oh, man. And I know both of these dudes are going to hit a wall eventually. They're both getting up there in age. And let's talk about the titanium jaw, kind of like we talked about last week. I have a theory that that's the reason he hasn't been getting knocked out in his last few fights, because you remember when, Clay Guida fucking tapped him out with a fucking choke that wasn't even locked in, broke his jaw and all this stuff. But then he got that titanium jaw, and then he fights Gleison Tebow. Gleison
knocked him out.
Gleison would have knocked him out if he didn't have the titanium jaw, but instead Rafael did the chicken dance of chicken dances, but he still wouldn't go down. The next time he got hurt was against Eddie Alvarez. He did the chicken dance of chicken dances and still wouldn't go down. I think it's due to that titanium jaw, but now my question is, at 170 pounds against one of the biggest power punchers, not just in the weight class, but in the UFC's history, because Robbie Lawler is a knockout artist. I know that his last few fights have been decision wins, so people that are newer fans might not know that, but the dude, they call him ruthless for a reason. He's got one of the biggest highlight reels in the history of the sport, so I'm questioning if he hits RDA with his hardest shot. Is RDA going to do that same chicken dance but not go down, or is this finally going to be that time where he does go down? So I feel like it's a situation where, how are they going to come out in that opening exchange? Is one guy going to bomb on the other? Are they both going to be patient and respect each other? And then also, if this does happen to go to the championship rounds, what's going to happen there? Because we noticed that Rafael did slow down a little bit against Erick in that third round. And one thing we know is that fifth round Robbie Lawler, that's not a guy that you want to fucking slow down against, man. I mean, you remember that fifth round against Johnny Hendricks. You remember that fifth round against Carlos Condit. Fifth round, Robbie Lawler knows how to bite down. He knows how to get the judge's decision. He's very good at winning fights, man. So, shit, I really have no idea what's going to happen. I can't wait to watch as a fan. I'm going to pick Robbie Lawler to get this win. Now we got to hit up Kyle Marley for the Big Marley Minute. And joining us now on the Big Marley Minute is Big Marley himself. Kyle, I know you're getting ready to bring home that 100K. How you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. I'm ready to get out of the snow and head down to Miami.
Man, it's funny you say that because I know the kind of snow you experience is on a completely different level than what we experience, but we finally had our first snow day in the last 2 years only a couple days ago.
I actually think it's worse for you this year. We've just had a little bit so far, so it hasn't been bad for me. But it is snow, and there's not going to be any snow in Miami. So that's what I'm looking for. But it is crazy that you're getting it worse than me at this time.
Yeah, they ain't calling us Hotlanta right now, I'll tell you that. But, Kyle, I got to know, man, because, look, Erick Silva's taking on Jordan Meehan, and a couple years ago, I think this had the potential to be a fight of the night type fight. But now, so much has changed in the sport. Both the guys are kind of on the decline, but they're still both really exciting guys. I have a feeling that the winner of this fight is going to win inside the distance. It's just about predicting it right. Are you thinking a Jordan Meehan KO or an Erick Silva sub?
This one, man, I would have liked to have seen this a few years ago, but now it's just I really don't know what to expect. So I would really prefer to avoid it if I can. However, you're right, it could end really early, so I might have to have it in some lineups. So if I had to have one of them in a lineup, I think I'd rather go with Erick Silva because he's 7,800 on DraftKings. Main is 8,400. So you got to find the dog somewhere. I think Silva is a decent one that could get a finish and that would score highly. So I think I would rather just avoid Main and hope for that Silva sub.
You know who's a dog I actually like? Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. He's taking on Nordine Taleb. And look, Nordine, very technical guy, very sharp guy. But, man, just stylistically speaking, I feel like Nordine's not going to be able to kind of, do his tri-star point fighting game against a guy like Danny Hot Chocolate where, Nordine's best weapon is that right kick. Danny Hot Chocolate is a southpaw. I think it's going to be hard for Nordine to get off on his strikes. It's an interesting matchup. I'm going with the dog here, and I'm putting him on my lineups too, man.
Yeah, I think this is another dog I like as well. He's 7,900 on DraftKings, while Taleb is 8,300. So if we can start off with those two dogs right there, it allows us some favorites later. And Roberts actually has the better inside the distance odds, and he's the underdog. So I'll take that and hope he can get the finish as well. And if we get two dogs to get finishes, then we're sitting pretty.
So, Jan Blachowicz is taking on Jared Cannonier, and it's interesting because we usually look to fade a guy like Jan Blachowicz when he's fighting a wrestler, but Jared Cannonier isn't a wrestler. That doesn't mean that Jared can't outstrike him because the dude's got some clean hands. It's just about this fight could get very sweaty. I see a lot of people overconfident in Jared. Are you also confident in Jared, or are you thinking maybe fade this fight?
I'm not confident in him. He is my pick. If I'm making 10 lineups, I got to have probably some of each of them. But if I'm only making one lineup, I think I would rather fade it. Just because, it's big guys. You never know what's going to happen with these guys. And Cannonier, he's only scored over 100 one time, and that was against Asker. So I don't know if he's going to pay off his salary of 8,800. You're right, man. Let's just fade it.
So I got to know how many points Tim Elliott scored in that Louis Smolka fight because they were scrambling all over the place, and now he's taking on this newcomer who's undefeated, but he's taking the fight on a week's short notice, and he hasn't fought in over a year. But real quick, can you tell me how many points Elliott scored in that Smolka fight?
176 points. 12 takedowns, 14 advances. 176. That's crazy. And then he comes back in his next fight and scores 1 against Big Ten.
Is that like the biggest contrast you've ever seen in DraftKings history?
Yeah, it has to be, because the only other person that's going to score 176 is DJ, and he's never scored 1 point, so I've never seen anything like that.
Wow, and 175-point differential. You said 176, right?
Correct.
Wow, that's unlike anything I've ever seen. So in a way, you're basically telling me that when you play Tim Elliott on DraftKings, it's a gamble because he's either going to fucking score a record-breaking amount or he's going to score a record-breaking amount in terms of how low it was.
Exactly. He's really the definition of a GPP play. He's boom or bust. He has a really high ceiling and he has a really low floor. So I think that's a play that you always want to look at in GPPs. But I don't know if you can really trust him in cash because he's 9,000 when Menga is towards the bottom at 7,200. So I think you either avoid this fight in cash or go with Menga just to go as a punt and afford some of those better favorites. But Tim Elliott is always in play in GPPs because he does have that 176-point ceiling. Not really ceiling. I doubt he ever does that again, but he's done it before, so you never know. But I just don't think you could fade this fight in GPPs. You got to have one of these two because they should score highly. Elliott's the pick, but if I'm making multiple lineups, I got to have some of both.
So, man, another dog that I was kind of eyeing for DraftKings is Galore Bofando. He's taking on Chad Laprise. It's really interesting because with Chad Laprise, man, I mean, dude, he moved up to 170, but I didn't really feel like it was a case where, he kind of needed to because the weight cuts were getting tough. I felt like it was kind of a case where the guy's a bit of a lazy fat ass, because if you saw that fight against Chris Camozzi, the dude's got a gut, man, you know what I'm saying? And also before that, missed weight at 55 against Thibaut Gowdy, who we know the deal with that. So now with Galore Bofando, who the dude strikes unlike anyone we've ever seen before. He's a total freak athlete. It's just there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know what happens if this hits the mat one time. But that being said, I know there's a good puncher's chance, a good kicker's chance as well with Galore Bofando. I'm picking him, bro. What do you think?
Yeah, he interests me as well. Fight doesn't go to decision is minus 185, so I really have interest in both of these guys because they're both mid-range priced. We got Laprise at 8,200 and Bofando at 8,000. So I like both of these guys a lot. I think this is almost a must-play as well. If you're going to have one lineup, you got to pick one of these two. And if I am going one lineup, I think I would take your side and go with Bofando because he does have that first-round KO potential a little higher than Laprise. I think Laprise would look to wear him down, get a late finish, which doesn't score quite as high unless he's really racking up those significant strikes. So, yeah, let's go with Bofando here.
So, Lamas is taking on Emmett, and it's a super interesting matchup because, first of all, one can make the argument that it is the classic letdown spot because Lamas was getting ready to fight Jose Aldo, and then they call him and they're like, now you're fighting this guy you've never heard of called Josh Emmett, But the thing with the matchup, Kyle, is that historically speaking, every time Ricardo Lamas has fought, a short, stocky wrestler with an overhand right from Team Alpha Male, he's gotten knocked out. You remember the Danny Castillo fight. You remember the Chad Mendes fight. So Josh Emmett could do something similar here. It's just that it's about banking on that one-punch landing because Ricardo Lamas is the better fighter everywhere. That's the bottom line. He's more experienced and he's more well-rounded, everything. He's got every base covered. It's just about, is that right hand going to land on his chin, and will he be able to stay upright if that does happen, Kyle?
Yeah, man, I think this is more of a fight to fade because Lamas is the most expensive fighter on DraftKings at 9,300, and Emmett's the cheapest at 6,900. And I think you're right. I think Lamas is the better fighter everywhere, and he should get this done. But is he going to outscore everyone else on the card? I just don't see that happening. So I would rather avoid this fight and maybe even go to Emmett just to save some salary if we're not going with Menga or something else like that. But really just as a salary saver because, like I said, Lamas is my pick. But I think this is just a fight to fade.
So Abel Trujillo is taking on John Makdessi. I know a lot of people are going to put Abel in every single one of their lineups. And look, he should beat Makdessi. Makdessi is basically completely done. He's on his way out, in a different kind of way, man. But Abel's a bit of a flake. The thing is, I know a couple years ago Abel would come out here and knock him out stiff in the first round. It's like, can we trust him to do that again here?
Oh, man. I mean, he is my pick. I don't know about a first-round finish, but he is my pick in general. But if you think everyone's going to be on him, then that would make me want to lean more towards McDessie. If he's going to be super low owned, I could see Trujillo shitting the bed here and somehow getting finished just doing something stupid. So maybe I won't be fading McDessie like I thought I originally was. You might have just sold me on him, and I'll have to throw him in a couple lineups. But Trujillo is my pick here, so I'll have some lineups as well. But I can't be like everyone else that you're talking about and having them in every one of them.
Speaking to everyone else, look, Cirkunov, he's the favorite to Glover Teixeira, and look, I'm picking Glover Teixeira. I've never been impressed with Cirkunov before. I've always thought, he was a bit stiff on the feet, he's a bit overhyped, and I also question his resolve in there when things don't go his way. But I see everybody on Glover, and that kind of scares me, man. First of all, what's your opinion of this fight just in terms of a pick?
My pick is Cirkunov, but being on Glover doesn't shock me. I do think this is a close fight. I think you have to have it in DraftKings because it's minus 180 that the fight doesn't go to decision. I think you're going to definitely get a knockdown here, maybe multiple knockdowns, and that really adds up. So this is a fight I really don't want to fade, and I want to go both ways on. I think you could probably even stack it in cash. I doubt I would, but it's a sneaky stack in cash. But pick a Cirkunov.
So you think Cirkunov's going to finish Glover Teixeira?
Yeah, I think so. Probably knock out first, second round.
So, man, the fight that, that fans have been waiting for, everyone's champing at the bit to see this one. I don't even have to name the two guys. You know exactly who I'm talking about, Mike Perry and Santiago Ponzinibbio. Like, oh my God, for a fact the winner of this fight is going to score a lot of points. Watch them just hump each other's legs for 3 rounds, right, Kyle? But the winner of this fight is going to win violently, aggressively, in a high point scoring fashion. But here's my thing with it, man. I feel like Perry's got the more power of the two. I feel like when Perry touches someone on that chin, they feel it right away. But Santiago, dude, he's slick with that straight right. And not to mention, man, I was kind of shitting on people that were saying that he eye-poked Gunny, but then I watched the whole fight in slow-mo because, it's only about a minute, couple seconds, right? So I watched the whole thing in slow-mo. Bro, he eye-poked the fuck out of him multiple times. And I was one of the people that was like, you can't eye-poke the chin. I was talking a bunch of shit. But then I watched it, and he really did. But the way he does it, Kyle, is he won't just do an eye poke and then nothing else. What he'll do is he'll throw a jab and he'll pretend to throw a 2, and on that 2, then he eye pokes, then he comes back with a left hook. So it's like in the middle of his combinations where he'll eye poke, and bro, I don't want to be betting against that kind of thing because if Mike Perry's getting the better of the exchanges, then he gets eye poked. One straight right could end the fight. I'm personally leaning towards Perry. I think he will find the counter, but and on DraftKings, I like his price. I know that if he gets a knockout, he will for sure pay off his salary. So for that reason, I like him. But as an honest man, as a betting man, I know that this is a 50-50 fight.
Yeah, I love this fight. I can't wait for this one. Another stackable fight in cash, and a fight that you have to be on in GPPs, especially if you're liking Perry, because he scores over 100 in all of his wins, and I don't see that changing here if he gets the W. And he's only priced at 7,500 on DraftKings, so technically he only needs 75 points, but if he wins, he's probably getting like 115, and he will have to be on your lineup in order for you to win money. So I think he will be popular, but for good reason. But my pick is Ponzinibbio here. I think he's going to end up getting it done. So I'm going to have definitely both of these guys in lineups, but Ponzi is my pick, and I think it's a second-round TKO, and I might even stack this one in cash.
Now, real quick, when you're talking about stacking, you mean putting them both in the exact same lineup, correct?
Correct, yeah. Cash only, though, so that's like my head-to-heads, 50-50s, double-ups. I wouldn't do that in like the $8 where you're trying to win 10K. So, yeah, when I talk about stacks, it's strictly for cash games, meaning your head-to-heads, 50-50s.
Kyle, look, I know you're the guy that's competing for the 100K this weekend, but I want to play devil's advocate here for a second, man, because I feel like, look, you bring a great point. If this is a fight of the night war, hell yeah, stack both guys. But I have a feeling the winner's going to win by devastating knockout, and the loser's only going to score, 1 to 10 points. So that's why I'm kind of scared to stack it, man.
Well, the way I look at it is in cash games, I need 4 wins. Most of the time, 4 wins will get it done. So in this one, you're locking up 1 win, plus you're locking up over 100 points. So that's what I like. I would like 120 points at least in a stack. So if I can get a first-round finish, that's 90. A knockdown that's with it, that's another 10. And then however many strikes are thrown between the two of them, it just adds up, and it's just safe in cash because you don't have to have 6 wins in cash games to cash. You don't need to be first. You just need to be top half.
Big Marley, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, Kyle, last fight, man, the main event. Robbie Lawler's taking on Dos Anjos. Do you think finally, Dos Anjos is going to run into a real welterweight, feel the size difference? Or, man, is he going to keep up this great streak? Because he's absolutely been running through the two guys he fought at 170 so far.
Dude, I have no idea. I am struggling on this fight right now. I've gone back and forth. Right now, I'm thinking Lawler gets it done. But, man, I'm not confident in it. I'm hoping I can really get confident in the next few days, and I think I would rather just bet it because they are the same price at 8,100. So I feel like if I'm going to throw them in a GPP, I have to make two lineups and have one of them with RDA and the other one with Lawler. And I really don't want to do that. So I think I would rather just get my investment in with a bet on one of the two. Maybe if the odds move and I can get some plus money on either one of them, really. But I just think I want to avoid this because I know both are going to be popular. It might not score over 100, so I don't know if you have to have this in your fight. And since I'm having a hard time picking a winner, I think I'm just going to try to avoid it, and I hope for a good fight.
Well, Kyle, that's why you are the DraftKings guy for Half the Battle. Best of luck this weekend. Bring home that 100K. Way to represent the only MMA betting podcast where all three hosts are third-party tracked, and more importantly, Kyle, all three hosts are long-term winners. Kyle, bring home that 100K, brother, and best of luck, my man.
Thanks, buddy, man. I'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir. Talk soon. And, man, Kyle Marley, it's funny. We're talking about 10K. We're talking about 20K. Now this dude's in this tournament. He could potentially be bringing home 100K this weekend.
When you're bringing in multiple sixes, what can you say? Marley's the best in the game. Hard work, determination. That's why he succeeds.
Exactly, man. And it's awesome. It's funny because I see a lot of shows, and I'm glad that everyone's analyzing fights, giving out their picks, doing their thing, but Half the Battle is the only show where the three members, the three co-hosts, the three hosts are all tracked by third parties, and more importantly, we're all winners.
It is what it is. We're giving you constant, consistent max bet winners, dating back to Alex Way, dating back to Randy Brown, dating back to Jan Zonin, dating back to Davi Ramos,
dating back to Conor McGregor versus Chad Mendes.
Razak Al Hassan. Well, just in the recent, 6-5 months, we're giving you these winners, we're telling you to load up. Davi Ramos, easy money last week. Yeah, it got a little hairy, but the fight, let's be honest here. It's a fight. You're going to get hit. Yeah, Randy Brown got reversed by Mickey, but guess what? He got his hand raised.
I don't care how hairy it got. I only care about his winning or losing.
I see some of these YouTube comments telling me, that wasn't a max bet.
But it was. But we max bet.
Well, pretty sure I put 10 units on it and it won. So, I'm not being cocky or anything. It's just, you got to look for these opportunities. You can't be playing 5 and 6 things on a different card. Honestly, you should really be playing 1 or 2.
It might work once or twice, but long term it ain't gonna work.
Long term it ain't gonna work, but it'll work once or twice. You'll get lucky. The parlays, we don't do parlays at Half the Battle because parlays long term don't win. You just saw me lose one with a couple weeks ago with Adam and Will Brooks. I thought Will Brooks was gonna whoop like Nick Lentz's ass, and turns out the guy's completely done. So that's why you can't bet on these minus. For example, this weekend, I can already tell you the trap right now. The trap's gonna be fucking Tim Elliott or fucking
What about fucking, let's talk about really obvious chalk that was supposed to hit. Joanna against Rose.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking Adriana Martins against Cajun Johnson.
Exactly.
Bibulatov against Moraga.
Exactly. We're not giving you minus 300s
Look, man, I've learned my lessons about playing that shit, and that's why for the most part we don't. And when we do, we have to take L's and learn from it.
I'm sure people that pay for picks are getting minus 300s and minus 400s.
You're not sure, you know for a fact.
I know for a fact that they're getting minus 300s. When have we ever given you one? We're giving you minus 135s, minus 110s, max bet Randy Browns, minus 130 Alex White, minus 180 Davi Ramos. We're giving you shit that you can play.
Not to mention all the dogs.
Exactly. We're giving you shit that you can actually play. Thanks for all the support, but let's get into this fight to watch and fighter to watch.
Yes, sir. So let's talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So Shaq, what is the fight to watch for UFC Winnipeg?
The fight to watch is simple in my opinion. It's Mike Perry and Ponzinibbio. Who's taking a canvas snap first? Because both men are known for dishing canvas snaps out. Perry's got 100% KO rate, so we know if he wins, a motherfucker's going out cold. If Ponzinibbio wins, we're going to see, the dirty Argentine tactics, the eye pokes, followed by a KO, and I'm a fan of both guys. I've gained a lot of respect for Perry in the last couple weeks because that power is absolutely ridiculous. I see the faces guys make when they get hit by this guy. So, I'm very interested to see the face of that Ponzinibbio. Is Ponzinibbio just on a different level? Because, his win over Gunny Nelson, a lot of people didn't see that coming. He was lying like plus 170, and he didn't shock the world, but, he took care of business. So I'm seeing if he moves up until that fights like a Kamaru or, something like that.
I mean, dude, I can't disagree with you on this one. The fight to watch obviously is Mike Perry versus Santiago Ponzinibbio, two of the premier KO artists at 170 pounds. Like you said, 100% KO rate in his wins for Mike Perry. And Genchi Boa Santiago Ponzinibbio has been looking better than ever, man. And I want to see if he's able to utilize that fucking eye poke game against a guy like Mike Perry. And also, I want to see if Mike Perry can counter Santiago when he overextends on the straight, right? And catch him with a counter left hook and knock him out. So the winner of this fight, man, it's going to be only top 10 fights from here on out. And they're only a couple fights away, believe it or not, from a UFC title shot. So, Shaq, who is the fighter to watch for UFC Winnipeg?
My fighter to watch is going to be Josh Emmett because, when you get opportunities like this, and like I said earlier, I truly believe that he has the model to beat a guy like Lamas. I feel like he has the right, so he was brought up in the right surroundings. We're talking about a guy that's been training at Team Alpha Male since day one. Like you said on the Countdown show, he's seen Benavidez start his career and work to the guy he is now. He's seen Faber, build his way up. He's seen all these guys growing up. Mendez, Castillo, TJ, all these guys at Alpha Male. He's seen all of them get their chance and, succeed. And now he has the opportunity to go and do that against Ricardo Lamas, who I said is one of the greatest featherweights of all time. Lamas is a badass. I was a fan of this guy when he knocked out Bendy Casimir with that flying knee. So, Lamas is a legend in my eyes, and Emmett has the chance of a lifetime. The number 3 guy in the world, short notice, nothing to lose, so I'm interested to see if he gets it done.
100%, man. And look, my fighter to watch is Alessio Di Chirico, and it's not just the fact that we have money on him, but look, it's currently lined to pick him, and I have a feeling that this has the potential to become a showcase fight. And for that reason, when you see a pick 'em and you think that it's going to be one-sided, if he weathers that first 3-round-minute storm of Oluwale Bamgbose, he's going to absolutely break him and run away with it. So I can't wait to see that. I think he's going to come out here, get his first UFC finish. For that reason, Alessio Di Chirico is my fighter to watch. Well, Shaq, we did it. It's going down this Saturday, a little bit earlier than usual for everyone tuning in. Make sure you guys know that it is going to start a little bit earlier. I believe 3 p.m. Eastern time for the first Fight Pass prelim. You know what I'm saying, man? It's that early. So, yeah, definitely be tuning in. Make sure you follow Shaq at MMA Genius 05. Shaq, any message for him before we go?
Thanks for the support. Next week, stay tuned. Big play coming. I'm not going to say easy money, but it's going to cash. So stay tuned for that. Follow me on my Instagram, TSM_bets, because that's where I post, my bets when I first make them. My CapperTech is tsmgenius.cappertech.com. So, just follow me, and thanks for all the support.
Yes, sir. Follow me at Best Fight Picks. Go to bestfightpicks.com for the plays. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Hook up those 5-star reviews. And Shaq and I are going to be back next week. And, like we said, biggest play of the year coming up. I cannot wait. I got to end the year with a bang. And also, in case you guys didn't know, I've been third-party track for like the last 3 years. So you can go, see my winning record on betmma.tips, on CapperTech. Just find Best Fight Picks. I'm up there. And, I know there's a bunch of these frauds with these fucking fake 11-unit bets and shit like that. That's why, I'm ranked, 23 on there instead of number 1. It is what it is. There are a couple of legit guys on there. I'm talking a little shit, but bottom line is, when you look at my record, you're not going to see any padding. You're not going to see any fake shit. You're only going to see 100% real handicapping. That's what we bring to the table. So until the next time, let's cash these bets.